Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For the upcoming right-hander, brake 30 meters later and ease off the pressure.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
Imola. Once part of the Formula One World Championship calendar, this historical track, named after Enzo and Dino Ferrari, hails from north-central Italy and has been subject to numerous revisions since it was founded in 1953. From 1953 to 1972, the track went uninterrupted from Ravazza all the way to the infamous Tamburello corner, notorious for its bumpy surface and having a dangerously small amount of room between the track and the concrete wall, as the Santerno River runs directly behind it. From 1972 to 1974, 2 chicanes were added in an effort to slow drivers down: the Variante Bassa, lower chicane, and Variante Alta, higher chicane, situated at the top of the hill leading down to Ravazza, creating the hardest braking point on the track. In 1980, Imola made its debut in the Formula One Grand Prix, after organizers were engaged in a dispute with Monza. In 1981, Imola remained in the F1 circuit as the San Marino Grand Prix. The circuit was subject to constant safety concerns even after adding numerous chicanes. Tamburello Corner was especially dangerous, where a car crashed into the wall in 1987 and another in 1989. The tragic weekend of the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix shocked the motor racing world. Rubens Barrichello would survive a serious crash at Variante Bassa, but sadly, both Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna lost their lives that weekend. So in 1995, major revisions were made to the track layout. Tamburello Corner, previously taken flat out, was converted into a 4th gear left-right sweeper, and a gravel trap was added outside the corner. Villeneuve Corner was also made a 4th gear sweeper with a gravel trap. In an attempt to retain some of the quickness and character of the old circuit, the chicane at Acqua Minerale was eliminated. Variante Bassa was also eventually removed to make way for a more modernized, longer pit lane. After 2006, Imola was dropped from the Formula One World Championship due to lack of funds. Whether Imola will once again be a part of the Formula One World Championship is unknown. Today, Imola is home to the annual 4 Hours of Imola, part of the European Le Mans series. It remains a popular bike racing circuit and has implemented minor changes over the years to be used solely for motorbike events. Imola is an important track in motor racing history. It's a track that yearns to be back in the spotlight.
A very good evening and welcome to Evolution Sim Racing, the European GT Championship. This is round 5 from Imola. I'm James Bostock and I'm going to be in the commentary booth this evening with Mr. Dara Thacker. Are you there, Dara? And can you hear me okay?
Yep, I'm here and I can hear you loud and clear, James. I'm looking forward to this race at Imola. It's back to a return to the 60 minutes that we got accustomed to at the start of the season. And I think we've all seen a little bit more racing around Imola this weekend than we normally would. So drivers, I think, are going to be well accustomed to the circuit. Yeah,
and I think that little bit of a video from iRacing at the beginning has certainly set the flavour of the evening, that's for sure. I did notice that there's a couple of outdated bits on there saying it's not in the F1 calendar. It definitely is, because we've watched it this afternoon. So after they've all packed their stuff away and the paddock has moved out, they've made way for the important stuff of Evolution Sim Racing, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. You're right, we are back for the 60-minute round, and I'm kind of looking forward to a bit more sprint kind of mentality tonight. Whilst the 60-minute is not one of the shorter races that we do in ESR, compared to last week or 2 weeks ago, that 90-minute race, I think that there's going to be a little bit more of a sprint mentality tonight, and some of these drivers are going to be a bit raring and ready to go, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think from what we've seen in the early stage of the season, I think strategies are going to be more refined. Drivers kind of get more of a, or have more of a sense of what they're going to be doing over the course of the evening, and especially considering we had Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago, and they've now really got an understanding of what the 90-minute race is going to be like. They can really now maybe start to see the difference with the 60-minute race and have that little bit more impetus towards the start of these races to make some moves, because now, towards the end of the season, we are going to have this almost checker pattern of 60-minute and 90-minute races, and this is a good chance to go well and pick up some good points, especially considering that qualifying is important here. The start's going to be crucial.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. We're hoping, because we've gone live on time for once, which is not like me, as you know. So because we've gone live on time, I'm hoping that we may even be able to bring in a little bit of qualifying. But before we do, there's just a bit of housekeeping that we usually have to run through. So first of all, for those of you that are joining us in the chat, a very good evening to you all, and thank you for joining. If you could just let us know if the volume is correct, because we always do a little bit of fine-tuning each week. So if you could let us know if Dara's volume's good, if mine's okay, and later on if the background of the cars is okay. And if you do let us know, I will get to see it, and we'll try and make a change on the fly, not affecting too much else. So yeah, looking at the calendar, so Zandvoort last time out, tonight at Imola, 60-minute race. We've got another 90-minute race coming up in 2 weeks' time at Le Mans. So that is going to be interesting. I did drive Le Mans in a GT4 to record one of the kind of startup videos for the countdown, and yeah, that is going to be really interesting, the GT4s around Le Mans for sure. Then we move on to round 7 in Catalonia for the 60-minute race for Spain, and then we just hop over the border into Portugal for Portimao on the 29th of June for round 8, and that's another 90-minute race, so that's going to be interesting with that 60% fuel capacity, so forcing that to stop. Penultimate round at Spa-Francorchamps, which is the 60-minute race, and then the final round at Silverstone. All will be in the dry. The drivers will be very, very thankful for, I'm sure, after last week's Thursday night GT3 out in the rain. So that's the calendar. So what about the track, Dara? I mean, this track, interesting track, obviously been used this afternoon by F1. For these GT3 and GT4 multiclass, I think there's going to be a few tight spots on here where that kind of multiclass overtaking is going to prove to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and I think particularly you're looking down at the likes of the opening corners at Tamburello, where the track does tighten up into turn 2 and 3. It's tricky to work it through there, and then even down into Acqua Minerale, the Variante Alta at 13 and 14. That back end of the circuit, it is going to be difficult to pick your way through some traffic, and that is going to be a problem that I think the GT3s and the GT4s are going to have to deal with. Zandvoort last week was that little bit easier. Yes, there was varying lines, but the track's a little bit wider in parts, and those differing lines really can work out for you. Here at Imola, there's only really one line around most of these corners, and so to get out of the racing line, it's going to make you lose quite a bit of time. and put you offline for following corners. So definitely going to be key to keep it pretty much locked into the racing line if you can, and make the moves on the straight. But we know that's just not going to be possible. So managing that traffic is going to be crucial tonight, I think, more than it will be around other tracks this season.
Yeah, I think we've seen a few incidents with the multiclass, and I think it's fair to say that we've got less in the stewards' room each week as we've gone on, which is a real positive. I think last week there were a few minor incidents where the GT4 car looked like it was kind of making space for a GT3. GT3 decides to go, and then GT4 kind of thinks, well, no, I wasn't actually making space. So we've had a little kind of word with the drivers in the stewards' outcomes for the GT4s to try to be a bit more aware, and also the GT3s to be a bit more kind of patient, shall we say, with knowing that they've got that extra power. So fingers crossed, we might be in for a slightly smoother ride tonight and see some fantastic racing. At this point each week that you know what sort of time it is, Dara. It's my favourite part of the week. It's the favourite part of the fortnight, where our very own admin Rob Mackay gets to do a hot lap around the circuit. Now, this week's hot lap, or this round's hot lap, is a little bit different because actually we couldn't find a car to hire for Rob to actually go around the circuit. So we had to put Rob on a track day from a specialist instructor in Imola. But the one thing that we didn't know, and it came as a massive surprise to us, is that Rob does speak fluent Italian. I don't know, did you know that, Dara?
I didn't personally. This was as shocking to me as it was to you.
Crazy. So because of that, there's a little bit of dialogue for the track guide tonight, and I'm not going to ask you to talk us through the lap because I think it might ruin us all listening to Rob's fluent Italian. So without further ado, we'll let Rob Mackay take us on a beautiful lap around Imola with his instructor.
Sì. Se invece la metti senza dar gas entra lenta. Questo è un bel giro. Frenata. Dosato, hai salvato la curva molto bene. Sono entrato comunque troppo presto. Ma puoi frenare appena dopo, Bravo. Anche qua sulla prima, appena più di velocità. Ottimo. Sono entrato comunque piano. No, tanto un decimino, quello che dovevamo togliere lì. Meglio questa, meglio. Molto meglio. Ho preso sempre un po' troppo giallo. Il secondo sì, il primo puoi pizzicare un po' di più. Qua non c'è il perino. Fa una bella staccata, Vai. Bello sotto. Vai. Ora. Terza. Ora, bravo. Bello questo giro, bravo. Si scende sotto. Sì, già sotto. 6-5. Vai.
Well, there you go, Dara. I mean, who knew? Who knew that Rob spoke fluent Italian? I mean, just impressive, no?
It is. I always like spotting, where Andrew Fellows is as well around the circuit every single week. He never popped up in the same place.
No, and he's always there as well, isn't he?
He's lurking. He's lurking.
I reckon he carries.
I was
Rob's,
probably checking.
I reckon he carries his kit bag for him. To be honest.
Well, I mean, if Rob doesn't know he's there, if I was Rob, I'd reckon I'd just every time I turn a corner just check him behind me. To be honest, but that might just be me. But good lap as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, nice clean lap. I can see that the instructor wasn't too happy with him, but yeah, it's always good. And thanks to Rob for taking the time out. His very busy schedule to first of all tell us that he knows Italian, and secondly to give us that hot lap footage for tonight. So anyway, back to the serious stuff. So we are now talking about the championships. So we're coming up to enter round 5. So we're coming up to the sort of midway point of the season. As you know, we run a GT3 Drivers' Championship and a GT4, and then we run the 2 Teams Championship. So first of all, if you want to talk us through, Dara's, the GT3 driver standings, and then I'll run through the GT4s.
Absolutely. It's been a good start to the season, isn't it? For Anton Kalo in these GT3 standings, the Finnish driver for MK Simsport has been absolutely flying at the top of the tree. Yes, he's been pegged back a little bit in the last couple of races, but he's still got those 2 wins to carry him to the top of the tree in the last 2 races. Really impressive stuff for him. He holds a 55-point advantage over Will Soper, and he's not even been on the podium yet this season. The consistency is what has got him to P2. Let's see if he can pick up podium number 1 here at Imola. Gianni Terha, he was a little bit disappointed. I remember he talked to us 2 weeks ago after his home race at Zandvoort, but still clicking along nicely, and the car working well for him. That Porsche up in the top 3. And on 136 points. Then it's the bit of the surprise package from the last couple of weeks. Minecraft Racing Team's Yannis Albert, 2 wins on the trot, and all 125 points have been picked up in the last month. So let's see if he can try and close that gap to Anton Kalo further. As Albert and Kalo are the only 2 drivers who won a race in the GT3 class so far this season. Ben Bennyworth and Kalle Leskinen are 5th and 6th. Leskinen, after his 2nd place last time out, will be hoping to get himself that little bit closer to the top 3, but of course doing very nicely indeed over the 100-point mark. With a rematch Lynchgas as well, a podium for him last time out. You can see some drivers that are starting to come forward and become contenders in this championship. Jason Max is slipping back a little bit. He started on points with Matt Hoyland in P8 and P9 on 85, with Joe Glass down in P10 on 80. Jaden Scotton and Joe Sparrow rounding out the top 12. They've got a little bit of work to do, but they're not far off that top 10. We'll see if they can do that tonight. But Joe Glass, I'm sure, will be able to cross that 100-point threshold as well.
He certainly will. He certainly will. I think he's feeling he's going to be feeling the pressure a little bit with Yannis's arrival, and we'll explain why when we come to the championship standings. So looking at the GT4 driver standings, we've got Marius Hibmer taking the lead in the championship with fantastic consistency. 2 seconds, a win and a 3rd. So yeah, consistency's playing out for Marius. In 2nd place, we've got William Humphrey, only 25 points behind, but William did miss a round, and there's no drop rounds in this championship at all. So it's going to be interesting to see whether William can overcome that with the points difference each round. Obviously, William is a strong favourite for every race in the GT4s, but anything can happen, certainly in multiclass. So he's got to have his wits about him, his eyes in the front and the back of his head as he sees the GT3s coming. We've got Pedro Luís da Silva, the Portuguese driver, in 3rd for Flatline Racing on 154 points in his BMW. So good consistency for Pedro, just slowly working his way up. Be interesting to see how he gets on tonight. 4th place, we've got Stephen Donnelly for JSD. Again, quite consistent finishing from Stephen. He'll be looking to improve and keep that going tonight. Martin Kenyon for DXT Motorsports in 5th. Tristan Engelstadt in 6th for Quad Dash Racing on 110 points. And then we've got Nils Kooler from Axis Sim Sports, only 4 points behind Tristan in 7th place. We then got Bobby Moss, the teammate of Yannis Albert in the Minecraft Racing team. Bobby didn't have a great time out at Zandvoort. I don't really know what happened. We did try and catch up with him afterwards. But yeah, he'll be looking to do better than his P15 tonight. And then we've got Linus Petkavicius in 9th on 81 points. And we've got Evan Main for Rage Against the Game Esports Ruby team rounding out the top 10. So we've just got Chris Jennings and Ryan Stringer just on the outskirts. Ryan missed the first 2 rounds of the championship. He's replaced Mike Fowler. So he's going to be looking to kind of recover that a little bit. So So the Drivers' Championship, that's the state of affairs for that. For the Teams' Championship, though, we do have a little bit more on the line because we have our cash prizes for the teams. So we have a cash pool of £1,000 in total that's split over the 2 different championships. We've got a Pro Teams and a Pro-Am Teams divided by iRating. So I'll let you talk us through, Dara, the Pro Team standings.
And it's been a good start in this regard, and we've got a very, very exciting championship to look forward to all the way through the rest of the season. You can see it in black and not quite black and white, black and yellow in terms of the point standings. There's only 10 points between the top 2, Flatline Racing and Glass Tech Racing, right at the top of the tree. Jaden Scott and Marisma have done a decent enough job for that Flatline Racing green outfit to just keep themselves ahead of Joe Glass and William Humphrey, but they are coming along stronger and stronger every single week. Quad Dash is P3 ahead of the Minecraft Racing team of Yannis Hilbert and Bobby Moss, and they are coming into their own as well. The last couple of races where they picked up all of their points, so they could be championship leading contenders by the end of tonight. Just depends on how tonight's race goes, I guess. Axis Conehead round out the top 5, and they're doing a good job to be over that 200-point threshold as well. They are still very much competitive, and at the moment we're picking up 50 points and a couple of trophies. Not bad for a season's work. MK Simsport with Anton Kalo, he's kind of being held back a little bit by Yelly Janser, of course, leading that GT3 driver standings. But they're up in P6. They've got Andrew Valles and Pedro Luis da Silva for the Flatline Racing Red, chasing them down in P7. Then we look at SRB Motorsport and the Rage Against the Game Esports Ruby team. They're all kind of much for muchness inside that top 9 at this stage of the season, because as you can see, we've got, 94 points between 1st and 9th. And then we've got another, 106 points between 9th and 10th. So there really is a race inside the top 9. And then the rest at the moment. Quad Dash, LGR in P10 at the moment. Denzel Clarkson and Ryan Springer, they're picking up 15 quid at the moment. They're being chased by HSR Sport, Axis RDSA, and then LS Racing 003 and the Random Racers, who are all struggling at the moment in the early stages of the season. They're nowhere near that top group of cars, but it is a very exciting championship and prospect.
It is. It certainly is. And I think the introduction of Yannis has really kind of really mixed things up a little bit, because Yannis has almost become the GT3 William Humphrey, so to speak. So yeah, I think that's just really thrown the championship wide open between those top 4 teams. You're going to have the kind of maybe even top 5 teams, the consistency versus individual results, and obviously because it's across both classes, both drivers need that consistency. So yeah, really interesting championship. As we move to the Pro-Am Teams Championship, we've got 2 clear kind of front runners in that championship, with JSD Motorsport on 204 points, so that's Joe Sparrow and Stephen Donnelly, and they're closely followed by DXT Motorsports, Matt Hoyland and Martin Kenyon. So they were early leaders, Matt Hoyland and Martin Kenyon. I think Matt couldn't attend last time out. I'm not sure if Matt is with us tonight. He is with us tonight, great. So I've just seen him on the timing screen. So they're going to renew their rivalries and battles with the JSD team. I think it's fair to say that Matt is the faster of the GT3 and Stephen is the slightly faster than in the GT4. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. In 3rd place, we've got Andre Muntian and Nils Kooler from Axis Sim Sport. So Nils seems to be hitting a bit of form that we know he's capable of. So that's going to be also interesting to see how that plays out. We've then got in 4th place the Quartermass Motorsport Bravo team of Ben Bennyworth and Ian Chambers on 117 points. We've then got Flatline Racing Pink of Kalle Lesken and Daniel Poole. So Kalle joined us a little bit into the season, teamed up with Daniel, and Calle's made some really good inroads. So again, I can only see them going upwards in this championship. But they're closely followed by Clyde Bayer and Malcolm Coates from Rage Against the Game Esports Diamond team in 6th place. Then we've got Matthew Jones and Nick Stubb in 7th place for the Vulcan Fasteners by Glass Tech Racing team. I think we've got Liam Bailey reserving for Matt Jones tonight. So and Liam looks like he's running quite good times at the moment. So that's going to be interesting to see how he fares. We've then got the Moonshiners Racing Club in 8th of Dean Sheesby and Rob Gregg, Adam Baker and Callum Morrow for LS Racing 002 in 9th. And then we've got the Quartermass Motorsport team of Andy Chell and Simon Hunt in 10th place. We've then got the Cam GP2 Porsche team of Jim Fox and John Ludbrook. I don't think that they're here this evening, which is unfortunate. Louis Plath and Pete Paver in 12th, Suma GP2, Robin Aston and Scott Kostrick in 13th. Robin Aston is here tonight and looks like he had a really good practice session, so that bodes well for him. We've then got Mission R of Ryan Blackie and Dan Cross in 14, and then Dean Sargent and Jason Haddon. I don't think we'll be returning to the series, which is a shame, but we wish you well, guys, anyway. So that rounds out the championship standings. Of course, we need to thank our series sponsors and league affiliates. Trophy AI have just renewed their sponsorship with ESR for the GT3 Season 9. So a big shout out and a big thank you to those guys. VRS, CAMA for the personalised trophies, GP2 Group for sending those trophies, the winners, out to the winners. And of course, last but no means least, Motorsport UK esports division for recognising ESR as one of their recommended communities, which we're very, very proud of. We do, as always, have the live timing up and running, so the link is at the top of the chat. If you want to follow the qualifying or the drivers through, or if anybody's engineering, I know that some people really enjoy that. So without further ado, Dara, it's time to get into the action and join the guys as they are just at the moment going through quali. So I'll let you kind of talk us through while I get things set up and see whereabouts we are.
Yeah, and I think this qualifying session is going to be a really crucial one when we look at the rest of the season. You know, this is a really important track when it comes to getting track position, difficult to overtake in any machinery, particularly as we've, you know, been to a couple of tracks so far this season where it has been that little bit easier to make some moves. So Imola, I think definitely one where drivers want to be putting themselves further up the order in qualifying to give them the best chance as they start the race. And, you know, you throw into that as well that we only have 60 minutes to go racing. Yes, it's an hour, it's a long while, but it's not the 90 minutes that we could have had. So I think for a lot of drivers, there's always that sorry risk, but little seed of doubt in their minds that if they don't get the lap time in early and they're a little bit further back, then they're not going to have enough time to recuperate and gain back some of the positions that they are looking to gain. But for the time being, at least, it's no surprise to see Eiselbear at the top of the time sheets. Joe Glass, though, going very well in P3. Let's see if he can stay there. It would be fantastic for him to get inside the top 5 in qualifying. But then we look at the likes of Kalle Leskinen down in P13 in the GT3s. He wanted to do a little bit more. And, of course, Anton Kaler yet to set a lap time. But very close as you'd expect as well. We're not seeing too many cars being too dominant at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's still early days. This is quite early for me and you to join quali. We did say that we was ahead of time today. Something's telling me that the timing screen on the left is saying we've got 12 minutes remaining. We're 7 minutes in, so we do have 12 minutes remaining. So yeah, that's kind of quite good for us. So we might get to cover a few of the guys' laps. So yeah, Yannis Albert setting the early pace in the GT3s, and then we've got Marius Hibmer setting the early pace in the GT4s. But I'm guessing that Williams not been out and done a lap yet as we jump on board with Marius. Do you want to talk us through a lap, Dara, since we missed the Rob Mackay hot lap?
Yes, I haven't got the Italian underneath me, but we can always give it a go. In towards Tambrola then for the opening couple of corners. I believe we're on board with Marius Hibmer as we run our way through the opening turns. Turns 3 and 4, really crucial to get this run towards the Villeneuve chicane. Run it out as wide as you dare. Don't try and get into the grass. And then use as much of the track on the right-hand side to get the maximum speed through the middle of the corner and towards the Villeneuve chicane. Try and keep it rotated through the right as well. A big risk of running wide as you run in towards Tosa. That could undo your lap before it really gets going. Difficult corner at Tosa, of course, going up the hill ever so slightly, so getting the power down should be easier, but a little bit of off-camber means that it can be slightly tricky on that rear end. But you rise all the way to the top of the hill and then towards Piratella, the left-hander that almost jumps out at you as you then dive back down the hill. And again, another corner where it's very easy to drift that little bit wide. Aqua Minerale, easy in the first part, very easy as you just flick it through the corner, but into the second part, difficult to get that rear end in check on the exit, and you do see quite a lot of laps come unstuck there. We could see moves up here at the Variante Alta if drivers are getting a little bit keen in the race. The very quick right-left chicane, or a little bit slower than I think it's meant to be taken. Marius Hibmer there's going a little bit too quickly. He's going to invalidate his lap, and the game went or the iRacing won't let him finish it. But then all that you have at the end of the lap is the 2 Ravazzas, and they're just 290 left, just trying to keep the minimum speed up and get it out of the final corner. Final corner is probably, James, the most important corner on the track to get the exit out of.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Although Marius probably wouldn't agree with us when he watches this stream back. He'll be thinking, "Why did you have to come on board with me through the qualifying?" But yeah, that must have been the last of his laps. So I've got Marius. He's set 3 laps, and then he's obviously just invalidated and voided that one. So yeah, we don't have a lap from Mr. Humphrey yet, which is kind of we do. We have 3 laps set by William, and none of them have been valid. So my goodness me, we did say anything could happen, and wow, that's going to make for a very, very interesting progress check if William Humphrey is going to start at the back of the grid. So yeah, we'll try and keep you posted and updated on that as we jump to Bobby Moss in the Minecraft Racing GT4. So Bobby is just coming to the end of his final lap now, currently running in 10th place. So I don't imagine he'll be too disappointed with that. But then I think with the pace that he showed at the Red Bull Ring, sitting in behind Marius Ibner, yeah, maybe he was hoping to be in the top 5 as he comes through now to cross the line. Is he going to improve on his lap time from P10 as he comes through? He does. He makes an improvement up to P9, so he's gained 1 place. We've got Martin Kenyon in P3 for the GT4s as well. So Martin is absolutely flying. So he must have heard me when I erroneously said that Stephen Donnelly might be the quicker of the 2 championship contenders. And Martin, yeah, he's pulled out a 49.5 to put him in P3. So a fantastic qualifying for Martin. We'll keep an eye on him and his progress. Pedro Luis da Silva currently running in 5th. We've got Mr. Leskinen out on track. Let's see if Callie's still putting some laps in for us. He's currently running in P18. And I think this is his final lap. It is his final lap. So Calais, again, he wouldn't, I don't think Dara Calais would expect to be down there in 18th.
I'd agree with you. This is not really, I think, where he would set the bar for himself. Of course, really a confident driver on a Thursday night in the GT3 Championship, but maybe not going to be able to hack it too much in the European GT Championship. Let's see as he comes up towards the line. This isn't going to be an improvement, of course, but maybe have one more go at it towards the end of the session to see if he can jump up the order. Rob Gregg as well. He looks like he's on an improved lap. Does he jump up the timing tower? The answer to that is emphatically no. Stays down in P17. But we aren't seeing too many improvements, are we, towards the end of the session? I know many drivers have finished their runs, but even the drivers on their last laps, they can't quite find that extra bit of pace.
We've got Clyde Veyer that's only completed 2 of his 4 flying laps. He's on his 3rd lap, so hopefully Clyde will be able to get his final 2 laps in, but he's currently in P5, so an absolutely amazing result for Clyde. I can see Jason joining us in the chat saying Clyde for president. I'm presuming that's what he means based on this amazing lap as we've got Henry Garcia, who is reserving for Jason. Jason can't make it tonight. I don't recall the reason why, but we've got Henry Garcia reserving, and he's just gone up to P5. He's also still doing... He was doing some laps. He's obviously heard us and thought, no, I'm not giving you a lap. So, yeah, fantastic qualifying for him. Is Clyde going to improve on his lap? I'm not sure if he is. We've got Andy Chell still doing some laps as well. I think Kalle Leskinen is just using it as qualifying. So we'll jump on board with Linus Petkavicius after this because he's only done 3 of his laps as Clyde decides to style it out, jumping into the pits. So yeah, that's his qualifying finish, but he is not going to be too disappointed with that, Dara, with P6.
Not at all. It's still a very good result, and backing up some good results earlier in the week for Clyde Veyer in P6, so definitely a good chance for him to move forward, or even just to pick up some good points, maintaining his position throughout the rest of the race and the evening's racing that we have. Pekka Vicious as well, I think a driver that will be looking to improve a little bit from P10 at the moment. We'll wait to see if he will be able to. Andy Chell may be able to jump up the order from a lowly P23 at the moment, not quite on our almost consistent timing tower on the left-hand side, but he'll be looking to try and weasel his way onto it if he can get inside the top 20. So many of these gaps are coming down to very, very little. You'd expect to see that this is a slightly shorter circuit than we'll go to at other points around the season, but 2/10 for pole in GT3, just under 2/10 for pole in GT4. Just shows how competitive these series are really becoming, and I also feel like we're getting a bit of a tightening in some of these championships, James, in terms of the overall quality and the pace that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think some of it might come down to how a driver actually enjoys racing a certain track. I know that I've got my favourites and I've got my kind of bogey tracks, and I think the other thing is practice. Sometimes real life gets in the way of our sim racing. Is that the right way, or is it in reverse? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if you don't get a chance to practice, and I know week in, week out, if I don't get a chance to put some practice in, then I'm absolutely useless, whereas I'm semi-useless if I get a few laps in, as Linus Petrovicius does improve, and he goes up to P7. So it looks like we've only got Linus and Andy Chell on a lap. We've got Kalle Leskinen still going round. He's still giving us some laps, but yeah, he has completed his 4 laps. So Clyde is on another lap again, and Clyde does have this lap to go. So maybe by returning to the pits, he didn't class himself as taking that final lap. So yeah, he seems to be out for another flying lap. But yeah, coming back to the point about practice, Dara, is I think form is one thing, but also practice is another. If you've managed to get a bit of practice in during the week, because a lot of these guys run in other championships as well. If it just so falls that you've kind of done some officials recently around that track, got the setup, got the practice right, then it can make for a fantastic race. And I think the reverse is true, that if you've not had time to jump in the sim and it gets to Sunday evening and you're just kind of going from memory, I think that sometimes can prove to be a tricky night.
I feel like this circuit is one that more drivers own as well, isn't it? I mean, we've gone to a couple of tracks like the Sachsenring. Zandvoort isn't really well used on iRacing generally, but I think Imola is a little bit more regularly frequented on many circuits, on many different leagues, and it's a track that is very nicely set up for quite a lot of different types of racing. I mean, we see it in real life, GTs, even the World Endurance Championship has been to Imola of late. Of course, Formula 1, like we saw this weekend, it really does well on so many different forms of machinery, and I'm sure that a lot of these drivers have raced on iRacing on Imola in quite a lot of different cars. So yeah, no surprises. I think the times are tight, and it is great to see that we have some newer names towards the top of the order. I mean, Joe Glass, I don't think we've seen him really near the top 3 in qualifying yet so far this season. Great to have him right towards the top of the order. Also, actually, Clyde Veyer, who's still trying to go around, not going to jump up to P5 with that lap, but still doing a very good job at the moment. And even some drivers, I think, a little bit further back that we'd expect to be higher, the likes of Kalle Leskinen in the GT3s, just give us that little bit of intrigue heading into the race, because there's clearly a couple of drivers who may be able to pick up a little bit more pace in the race or pull something out of the bag that they weren't able to pick up in qualifying. And that's going to give us a lot of interesting racing, particularly in the early 20-30 minutes of this one. And the pit stops as well. Whenever drivers make the pit stops is going to be a really key factor in this race. How late can they go? That seems to be the best way to do it in these 60-minute races. Of course, the 90-minute turned into a very clear 2-stop. But back to the 1-stop. So after a month, the drivers haven't forgotten their strategies, right?
Well, if they had, you are making the assumption that they had a strategy. Of course, I know that the Glass Tech team do for sure, because they have one of their team members, Dale, actually working on a bit of a strategy for them for those longer races, which apparently worked really, really well. So I know the Glass Tech team absolutely had their strategy. But yeah, I think we're back to a bit more familiar territory tonight with this, this fuel limit and a 1-hour race. I think they all know that from, or certainly all the guys that do the the GT3 series with us. They know roughly when they're going to be pitting. They'll probably take on full fuel to minimise the pit stop. But yeah, anything can happen. So any kind of results that kind of jump out as a big surprise. I mean, you seem absolutely surprised that Joe Glass in the top 3, so I can't wait till he watches that back. But as qualifying just comes to an end. So yeah, that's it, Dara. It looks like we're going to be moving into the race.
It is. And a really exciting race, and an important one for the season. We're kind of getting into that stage of the season, aren't we? That kind of middle third, I think, is really where championship aspirations are made, and then they're lost as well. But yeah, 60 minutes. This is going to be really, really exciting.
So we've got the grid. Are you going to be able to talk us through it? Is that coming through okay, Dara?
Yes, I can. Looks clear as day on my screen, which is great. Thank you for that, James. For those of you that don't know, James does the best work and give me a stream through Discord. So thanks, James, for that. Yannis Alberto will be on pole position. He is the real driver in red hot form at the moment. 2 wins on the trot, looking for a 3rd in a row, and he's got a 2/10 advantage from qualifying over Gianni Terhar. That'll disappear, of course, as we go into the race, and it is quite a long run towards turn 1. So could the Dutchman find a way through? Could it be double Dutch delight today? And Imola, we'll have to wait and see. Joe Glass will sofa at 3rd and 4th. The all-British 2nd row will be a really interesting, I think, dynamic, really. Joe Glass and Will Soper, I think, would be quite pleased to be inside the top 4. Of course, Will Soper without a podium this season, looking for one. The same could be said for Joe Glass. Henry Garcia, the reserve driver, the highest of the Americans, will start in P5, just ahead of the Maltese Clyde Vea after his great qualifying result. Jayden Scotton and the Guyanan Denzel Clarkson round off row number 4. Ben Bennyworth and Anton Kalo, championship leader, that is, in P10, within a second of the pole time. And they're joined on that regard by Matt Hoyland, who's just behind Anton Kalo, but of course just inside that 1 second window. It was a 42.2 for him in qualifying. He'll be hoping to keep himself within a second a lap of Yannis Albert's pace during the race. Maybe get himself inside that top 10. Luke Bailey, the 2nd reserve, he'll start P12 ahead of Robin Aston and Joshua Cohen, and all British row number 7. It'll be Joe Sparrow ahead of the Romanian Andre Muntean on row 8, and they've got Dean Tyler and Kalle Leskinen, the number 1, who's definitely going to be looking for more in this race, starting just behind them in 17th and in 18th. So the top 20 will be rounded out, though, by Adam Baker and Dean Sheesby. And as they get rolling, we roll down on the page. Andrew Fellows, Arima Shalinskash, Andy Chell and Lewis Plath are going to round out the 24 GT3 drivers in this race, and they're going to have a lot of work to do to get through their own class, but they will have a bit of a gap ahead of the start of the GT4s. Marius Hippmer leads the way ahead of Tristan Engelstadt and Martin Kenyon. Bain, of course, trying to make the most of the opportunities that are given to him in this championship. He will go from pole. Justin Elof, the South African, will go from 4th ahead of Pedro Luis de Silva and Ryan Stringer. Linus Petkovicius and Stephen Donnelly make it 7 nationalities inside the top 8 starting grid in the GT4s. Chris Jennings and Bobby Moss, 2 Brits who make up row number 5 in the GT4s. Nick Stubber, Neil Schooler, Dan Cross and Evan Main are on rows 18 and 19 overall, with Pete Paeva and Daniel Poole inside the top 40. And then the likes of Rob Gregg, Malcolm Coates, Ian Chambers, Scott Kostrick and William Humphrey, of course, the driver who's been so dominant in GT4s over the past few months, will start last in this race. James, a lot of work to do for him.
There is, Dara, and I have just seen on the timing tower come up that William Humphrey has had an incident on that formation lap. Not quite a full formation lap, as the safety car pulls in, and we're going to get racing, Dara. Here we go. I'm going to let you take it away as we've got Yannis and Gianni on the front, and I'll try and track and keep as good as I can.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting race start, because everybody's going to know that they have to gain positions very, very early on. Yannis Alberto is looking for 3 race wins in a row. Gianni Terhar, off the little bit of disappointment of P4 in his home race, will be looking to get a win, at least a podium. He starts P2. The red lights are on, and we are racing here at Imola. The green flags are flying, and it's a good start from Yannis Alberto. He looks like he's going to be able to control the lead down into towards turn number 1. Behind, though, in the mid-pack of the GT3s, they go side by side. 2, 3 wide nearly as they come in towards Tamburello. There they all come. 2 by 2 Noah's Ark formation, quite frankly. The likes of Anton Kalo, championship leader, trying to come through the field. Ben Bennyworth looking for a couple of moves as well. The top 6, that is, are away. And then you've got Denzel Clarkson already over a second behind Henry Garcia. But they're still going to go side by side. Villeneuve again difficult to take. Oh, and Scotton's around. He's off into the gravel. And he's got to be careful not to be collected from there, James.
Wow, what a start, what a start. Yeah, absolutely frantic. Let's have a look where we've gone with the GT4. So, yeah, you were in mid-flow. We've got one GT4 that's just gone off. I don't know who that is. It looks like Bobby Moss that's gone off. So we've got, that looks like, we've got Tristan Engelstadt, who's coming on the back of Marius Ibmer. And he's got Jaden Scotton rejoining, must have kind of got in the way of Marius, as Tristan Engelstadt looks like he's going to go around the outside and Marius holds that inside, but that is going to give the inside for Tristan. Is he going to keep his foot in into the next corner? He is almost, no, just sees a bit of sense and backs out. And I think he's got Justin Eloff just behind us. We've got an incident which looks like it's Pedro Luis da Silva who's off the track. That is very unfortunate as he patiently waits for all the other cars to go past him, and he's going to rejoin at the back of the GT4. So very, very, very unfortunate for him. So yeah, Tristan Engelstadt, did he think about making that move? I'm not really. I think he did. I think he thought about it and thought, no, this is lap one. We'll just kind of take it easy. So yeah, we've got Marius Ibmer holding the lead, Tristan Engelstadt in second, Justin Eloff in third, Ryan Stringer in fourth, and it looks like we've had a little bit of a change there. We've got Andy Chell dropping down the order, so he's had a bit of an incident. We've got Martin Kenyon, so Martin has dropped to, if we have a look in the class, so Martin's dropped to P5. I think Martin had qualified in P3, so he must have lost a couple of positions on that first lap, and he's got Stephen Donnelly behind him. So Stephen and Martin race each other fairly often, so yeah, Stephen will be looking to kind of work his way back through. It looks like we've got someone in the pits, Dara. Got so many cars on my screen. It's Dean Sheesby, so Dean's not getting on with this Porsche at all, so we might try and catch up with that a little bit later and see what happened there, as we've got another car off to the left which looks like another one of the GT3s, which could be Dean Tyler. So again, we'll try and catch that a little bit later. Meanwhile, GT3s.
Yeah, it's been a good start for Yanis, hasn't it? Nearly got that full second ahead of Adriani Tehar. But interesting to see that gap between Henry Garcia and Denzel Clarkson has grown in the opening couple of laps. 1.8 seconds, nearly 2 seconds it is between those two. The likes of Anton Cato, Matt Will and Ben Bennyworth chasing Denzel Clarkson for that P7. Clarkson is, at the moment, the cork in the bottle. William Humphrey as well. What a start from him. He's up to 11th place in class. He started, 20th, if not worse than that. So to have him in the top 11 just shows how much incredible pace he has. He's going to have overtaken half of his class in about 4 minutes if he can get through on Evan Main, either down into Ravazza or down into turn number 1. I mean, incredible launch from him. Exactly what we've come to expect from William Humphrey. Look at this, inside line, late on the brakes. Can he find the line? Not quite. I think we're going to have to see Evan Main go a little bit wider. William Humphrey just opening the door for himself and then walking through it. He's going to make sure that Evan Main doesn't have an exit, although there's a bit of contact as they make their way off of the corner. Evan Main's going to get a good run here. I think Cooler and Cross are going to come through as well. Oh, it's all gone wrong for William Humphrey. He was doing such a good job, and now he's going to have more work to do. Through goes Nick Stubber. He can't believe his luck, quite frankly.
Yeah, Evan Main was definitely saying, you're going to have to work for this one, William. As Evan's now on the outside, as William does go round the inside, gives him a little bit of a nudge. So I don't think Evan will be too pleased with that. Those few nudges into the Ravazzas and then all the way along down the straight. But William's obviously got that bit of superior pace, and he's trying to work his way through and recover. He's 1.4 seconds behind Nick Stubb. They are sister teams, so I don't think that Nick's going to give him too much resistance when William wants to get through. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we can track William's progress and how he works through. So he's come from, I think we've got 24 GT4 drivers, so he's up by, let's have a look, he's up by 13 positions. So yeah, Marius will be hearing the Jaws music a bit later on, probably, but he's got all this traffic to work through, Dara, and I don't think this is the easiest circuit in the world. As Nick Stubb pulls over to the right, sees his sister teammate come in and thinks there's no point fighting against William with his pace, and I'll just let him through. So next target is Linus Petkavicius.
Yeah, I think difficult really to see how there's going to be many drivers. They're going to be able to stop William Humphrey in his charge. who's been able to win the last year at this point in GT4s? The answer is nobody in ESR. So no surprise to see him marching his way up the timing tower once again. Meanwhile, over in the GT3s and around the same kind of place that William Humphries in, Matt Hoyland's looking to try and get himself ahead of Denzel Clarkson. He's just been struggling in the early stages of the race. Clearly, the car set up a little bit more for qualifying, or Denzel was a little bit more confident with his qualifying pace than he was with his race pace, because it's just not been there at all. He lost the gap to the top guys, and it's just fallen off further and further since. I mean, Anton Kalo came through and he's ready to speed up the road. So Matt Hoyland is going to be the car next to try and give it a bit of a go. Is he going to try it down to Zacco Minerali? I doubt it. But then I think we're going to see maybe a chance into Variante Alta, maybe Ravazza, and then down towards turn 1. That's the intriguing thing about this Imola circuit. There are overtaking spots, but they're so tricky to nail. You can get it wrong so easily. And that is why, having to craft the overtake is so important. We saw William Humphrey try that at Ravazza, get to the inside line, force your rival a little bit wide to give you a chance at the inside line into Ravazza too. Didn't necessarily work out, but they're the kind of tactics that you have to take at a circuit like this.
Yeah, and a big shout out to these two guys, Clyde Vea and Henry Garcia. So the two Rage Against the Game esports drivers, flying in formation, fantastic for them, P5 and P6. So just doing their thing, keeping out of trouble. And I don't imagine these two are going to come together, as it looks like Henry was having a little look there. So no doubt Jason in the chat will be kind of willing them not to have bumps and hit each other. We've got to give a little shout out to Joe Glass. So running in P4, fantastic result for Joe. So qualified in P3, he's down one position, but he's hanging on to these guys. And I think one of Joe's kind of weaknesses in the championship so far has been that Joe has probably not qualified where he knows he's got the pace to run, whereas tonight, on a circuit that he's a bit more familiar with, he's actually qualified really well, and he's only dropped one position. So yeah, he'll be looking to hang on into that. So yeah, fair play to Joe. He'll be happy with that result. We've got Matt Hoyland that's kind of corking the bottle with about 17 cars behind him. So he's managed to get himself ahead of Denzel Clarkson. So Denzel's made his return tonight. Unfortunately, Denzel couldn't race with us, I don't think, after round 1, so it's really great to see Denzel back tonight, and it looks like he's absolutely getting stuck in. I know the NSX is not actually his first choice of car. I think his first choice car, he told me, was the BMW, but nevertheless he's having a fantastic battle here with Matt Hoyland, and he's got Ben Bennyworth right behind him, who looks like he wants a piece of the action as well. So Ben Bennyworth for the Quartermass Motorsport Bravo in the Porsche. It looks like Ben Bennyworth might have a run here, Dara.
It does, doesn't it? Let's see. Inside line, outside line. Well, we're going to have to wait and see. It should be the inside line now for Ben Bennyworth. Down at turn number 1 and in towards turn 2 as well at Tamburello. This is turn 1, the Siddle Kink Left with the inside curb, and it will be an inside line for Bennyworth. It will be a good braking manoeuvre, and he's up into the top 9. Denzel Clarkson just going backwards at the moment. Lost out to Anton Kalo, Matt Hoyland, and now Ben Bennyworth, and we've got with a whole train of cars still waiting to overtake. It's just not looking terribly promising for the Guyana. Joe Spara just in behind. He's trying to overtake, defend from Andre Muntian as they battle over top 15 places. William Humphrey, by the way, moved up into the top 6. He's just overtaken Ryan Stringer, but Ryan Stringer's going down the order. There may have been contact between the two of them.
Yeah, as Williams behind... he's behind Stephen Donnelly. I was just looking there at Andy flashing his lights. For a minute there, I thought that was a Quartermass GT4, but it's not. It's a GT3. So that explains the speed difference, as William looks like he's going to do a Max Verstappen around the outside. He's going to hold the line. Stephen says, no, you're not. William says, yes, I am. And they still go side by side. And William looks like he has got his nose in front. So, yeah, William is now up to P5. So I'm guessing that this is making this a bit more interesting for William, because most weeks he's kind of running out the front, doing his lap times, looking in his mirrors, when are the GT3s coming. Yeah, this is definitely going to make it a bit more interesting for him, and he can now see the leader of the class, which is actually Tristan Engelstadt. So we missed that. We've got Tristan Engelstadt leading, who's got a 3.1 second gap to Marius Ibmer. So apologies, he can't see the leader. What he can see is he can see Marius Ibmer in second place, So Marius running in second for Flatline Racing Green, championship leader. So he'll be certainly careful not to kind of jeopardise that, as he's got a GT3 coming through on the inside. So Andy gets past the first GT4, and it looks like he's now going to get his way past Marius, probably before the Rivazzas, with that overpower from the GT3, as I keep everything crossed, having seen, as Andy just, Marius is defending. He's has anybody told him it's the GT3? Oh, and they come together. Oh my word. Maybe he thought, and we've got Justin Eloff that's got a run now as well. So yeah, probably no need really there for Marius to defend against that GT3 when he did. If he'd have just kind of let him through, slipped him back behind him, he could have kind of had his slipstream all the way down. Instead, he's got Justin Eloff, which is actually for P2 in class, as Marius looks again to hold the outside line. But no, Justin's got the job done. Whew, that's a frantic couple of minutes there, Dara.
Yeah, not really. I think what Marius had been needed, I think you're right. I think he probably did get a little bit confused. And just to lose out from to Justin Eloff as well really puts the cherry on the cake of a difficult minute and a confused minute, really. Oh, bit of contact. As William Humphrey is going to now have to defend from Stephen Donnelly, as Donnelly comes around the outside in towards Tozer. Can Humphrey just use that inside line as the foothold that he needs? It looks like that he can, and yeah, we'll cover off the line as well on the exit of the corner. So William Humphrey still inside the top 5, but Kenyon is his target. He is right there, and he's a million miles away off P2. He can see P2 and Justin Eloff. The difficulty for him will be to try and chase and then overtake Tristan Engelstadt, because he's got that great lead at the moment of about 5.5 seconds, growing more and more by the moment. You know, when you compare that to the lead that Yannis Albert has of just a couple of seconds, it just goes to show how impressive that it is, albeit it's grown, isn't it, because of Eloff and Hippen fighting. But Engelstadt, a position that we're not terribly used to seeing him in the lead of a race, but again, great to see some newer names towards the top of some of these races.
Yeah, and he's got amazing pace as well. So I think we knew coming into this week that Tristan loves this track, and he'd got, I think somebody had been kind of stalking him on Garage 61 and found his lap times and said, like, wow, that was a real surprise. So yeah, I mean, Tristan, he'll be guarding this lead, 5.5 seconds to Justin. He'll be guarding that lead and probably just keeping his eyes on where William Humphrey is. I wanted to just sort of chop back a little bit to the GT3s, because I could see that we've got the Anton Kalo show happening again, and I saw it into the chat. There was somebody supporting Anton in the chat saying it's going to be another Anton Kalo masterclass. So that suggests to me that Anton might be on one of his fuel saving missions. So if he is fuel saving, he'll be able to go longer, which then means he's got to take on less fuel when he does go into the pits, which means that his pit stop will be significantly shorter than the drivers in front of him. And he's got Clyde Veyer and Henry Garcia, who's now got past Clyde Veyer. So he'll be looking to jump those two. I'm not quite sure if he'll get all the way up to Joe Glass. So yeah, another one for us to keep an eye on. Going to be very, very interesting to see how Anton progresses through, and whether he decides to use a bit of that fuel that he might have been saving, as they look like they're coming past one of the Rage GT4 cars. I'm just trying to have a quick look who that is. I think that might be Malcolm Coates. Is it Malcolm Coates? But yeah, Anton's through and he's passed anyway. So let's have a little bit look further down. So we've got Robin Aston, who's currently running in P12. He's having a fantastic battle with Luke Bailey, who's driving the Matt Jones Vulcan Fastness Porsche. So Robin's not been here for a while, but he's back tonight, which is great to see, running in a very solid P12. We've got Josh Cowan behind, so for the Axis X RDSA team. So that was a newly formed team with himself and Justin Eloff. So he's having a good run in P13. And then we've got Joe Sparrow in the McLaren. So Joe for JSD Racing. He's just on the back of them, P14. He's managed to break away from Andre Muntian. So yeah, I think Joe might be looking in the latter stages of this race to try and force his way past the kind of three Porsches that he's got in front of him. We've got Jaden Scott, who's running down in P20. So we've got Andrew Fellows, We've not had a mention of Andrew in all seriousness. We've not had a serious mention of Andrew yet tonight. So Andrew is running in P19, just behind Louis Plath. So we've got Louis Plath for LS Racing 001. So these two tend to get kind of stuck together every week, got very, very similar pace. So at the moment, Louis got the better of Andrew, and that's for P18 and P19. And then we've got Dean Tyler, and I think Dean had an incident early on in the race. Looks like he's carrying a little bit of damage to that back left. We've then got Andy Chell, who's had an off-track excursion, and then we've got Dean Sheesby. Bit of a shout out to Dean. I know that Dean's not a massive fan of the Porsche. He did look to try and change the cars, but we don't actually change the cars in this championship. Once you've decided, then you're stuck with that. So I know that the Porsche isn't the car of Dean's choice. So hopefully, Dean, we can get you in something more suitable that you like driving next time out and have less incidents. I think Dean drives the NSX in the GT3 championship. So yeah, bit of a shout out to Dean, and we'll then skip to see where William Humphrey has got to.
Got to P4, isn't it? It's such an impressive run in the early stages of this race, but we've been going 17 minutes just about. William Humphrey is already up into the top 4. He's only a second off from Justin off. If you look at the last lap time, look at that, 1.3 seconds quicker than Justin on that last lap, really showing why he is the benchmark in the GT4 class at the moment. We're about to start seeing quite a lot of lapping unfold with Gijsselberg and Jenny Terhaar going across the line. This is Anton Kalo trying to overtake Clyde Veyer. They're all approaching the rear end of that long train of GT4 cars. It's going to get quite messy quite quickly. So for Anton Kalo, it could be really useful to get the move done here. Outside line at Tamburello. Can he hook it around the outside? Can he just loop it? No, is the short answer there. And all the excitement kind of built up to not very much. But he might get a good run off the exit of Tamburello towards the Villeneuve chicane. You can just see it's just not enough to get him alongside, and well, ahead and at very least alongside to try and make a move in towards this tricky Villeneuve chicane. Tosa's upcoming, and the GT4 in the way is not going to help too much. For Anton Kalo, he's going to have to negotiate his way through a little more difficult than Clyde Veyer did, but Veyer's messed up Tosa all on his own, which is going to keep Anton Kalo interested up towards Piratella. But this lapping is going to really change the shape of the race and could help out some of the GT4s who are moving through the field, namely William Humphrey, could also help to split up some of the gaps in the GT3s.
Yeah, Clyde Veyer's having an absolute storming race. I hope I don't put commentators' curse on him, but I think that was Pedro Luis da Silva that's moved out of the way. But yeah, Clyde Veyer's absolutely awesome race running in P6. So I've raced against Clyde a couple of times, and yeah, he's really, really good, safe, clean driver. Very, very respectful, very enjoyable to race against. This is amazing pace from him. So Anton will be hoping, I think he'll be hoping to get a bit of a run on him as we come down through the Rivazzas. The first one is just kind of hooking that curb, trying to get the maximum curb that you can take, power down early. Got a GT, who's going to get a nice little bit of slipstream from that GT4 as he pulls out. I don't think he's close enough, Dara. I don't think he's going to, I mean, he's going to prove me wrong now, obviously, but I don't think he's close enough to get it done on this lap.
Well, let's wait and see, because I can see arguments to both sides here. I'm going to stay strictly neutral on this one because I'm going to make sure that I'm not wrong. But if you're going that he's going to get it done, I'm going to say that he's not going to get it done on this lap. It's going to be an interesting little tussle, though, because with this tight pack, again, getting through the traffic means that if one's got through a GT4, then the others feel like they have to get through immediately, otherwise the chance could be gone. So for Matt Hoyland, right behind Kalo and Veyer, Kalo has a chance of getting this move done, but at the same time, very quickly can fall into the clutches of Hoyland, because if he struggles, if Kalo struggles to get through on the GT4 that little bit more, then all of a sudden Hoyland's right there to pick up the pieces, and he's going to be looking forward rather than back. Anton Kalo's in the difficult position of having to look forward and back to try and work out what the best, form of line is when overtaking some of these GT4s. Do you go aggressive? Do you go defensive? Are you more worried about keeping the position or gaining a position? And that's going to be difficult for Anton to manage, and for Matt Hoyland doesn't have to worry about that. all of that's undone, though, because Clyde Veye's been overtaken, or they're going side by side at least, I think, as they run up the hill. I think that's towards Variante Alta. Veye, Kalo and Hoyland pretty much side by side as they come towards Ravazza now.
They are, and Anton's got through, and it looks like Matt Hoyland has picked the pocket and snuck through as well. So Anton makes his way through, using this traffic to his advantage. Matt Hoyland says, hang on, son, I'm coming with you. And poor Clyde Veyer is in the background saying, what's happened here? I've gone like I've lost like 3 positions, 2 positions, just like that, as we've got somebody into the pits. That must be Pedro that's into the pits. So yeah, Anton Kalo is up to 6th place. They're now 4 seconds behind Henry Garcia. So Henry and Clyde were running together. So as these GT4s, Matt Hoyland's going to be looking to capitalise on this as well. Let's jump on board with Matt and see what he can see as Anton's working his way through. I think Matt said in the chat earlier that he's just done a 2-hour or 4-hour Porsche competition or endurance, and then he's jumped straight into the Corvette. So I can't think of anything worse than driving one car and then jumping straight into another, as he looks to get past, I think that was Ryan Stringer that Matt's gone past. And Anton's gonna come across these 2 GT4 cars at a really unfortunate time. Is he going to get the job done? He's going to get one done. Is he going to get the second done? That looks like Chris Jennings that Matt Hoyland has got through. So that's going to be the other GT4 car that Anton will now make his way through, and Matt Hoyland won't get past him. Probably, is it Nick Stubb? He won't get past him till after the chicane. So he's taking his time with it, and then should get the power down. And in the meantime, Anton Kalo is now 8/10 up the road.
It just goes to show, doesn't it, how quickly you can build up a gap like this, and how quickly, fortunes can change, particularly when the traffic's involved. Anton, with a lot more security in the position that he's now in. Hoyland and then Veyer are coming through, but then Veyer again could be a bit of a cork in the bottle for Bennyworth and Denzel Clarkson. Meanwhile, William Humphries for P2, outside line here on Marius Hibmer. Can he get it done? On the brakes, Himmer's defending very nicely to the inside line, and William can't quite get it done just yet. It's taken him 23 minutes to get from last to P3. He's got 2 more positions to gain, but he's got Hibmer in front of him, who's going to be a tricky customer, and then he's got the biggest gap, 7 seconds to close to Tristan Engelstadt. He definitely has the ability to do so, but catching and then overtaking, completely different matter. And of course, when you're thinking about the strategy, you want to drive the car in the opening stint for as long as possible. You don't want to overdrive it now, use up too much fuel to chase Engelstadt just a bit in a little bit earlier, and then lose 5 seconds in that pit stop sequence. So it all is relative. As William just tries to get the up and under through Piratella. Not going to work out towards Acca Minerale, but you can just see that he's got pure pace over everybody else in the field. He just isn't able to use it when tucked up behind the car in front. Is there drive towards Variante Alta? Well enough, but again, he's gaining to all of these possible overtaking spots, which is just making the drivers in front keep guessing on where he's going to go. Hibner with the most defensive line I've ever seen into that corner, but William had a similarly bad line and won't really gain towards Ravazza.
Yeah, that was a great bit of defending there from Marius. So Williams going to have to think about where he's going to get this done, as he's got the 133 car of Henry Garcia that's now splitting them. So he might try and just hook his tow rope onto the back of that GT3. But yeah, so Henry's gone, and he's now got a 0.6 of a second to make up on Marius. So I was just looking at the previous lap times that they've done. So we've got the last lap as William comes across the line now with a 1:51.0, and then we've got Tristan Engelstadt who did a 50.5. So I think some of that is because William's in traffic and he's being passed by cars. So yeah, that is going to be a pretty tall order. But then if there's any GT4 driver that's able to do it, Dara, then I think we know who that's going to be.
I would agree with you on that one. Things seem like they're trending that way, don't they? Oh, this is getting a bit busy down towards Tozer, inside line for the MK GT3, as it looks like William Humphrey's going to get the up and under here. Has he got enough of a run? No, that's Anton Kalo who has got through. Then you've got the likes of Hoyland, Veyer and Bennyworth. Of course, this group of cars coming up towards the last duo of GT4s to overtake. Oh, a little bit of contact as they're on their way through. Veyer is through on, that's I believe that's Justin Eloff in the number 44 car. But Bennyworth will have to find his way through and does. But it's all getting messy again. Humphrey would love to will use this opportunity to get them moved on Hibma. You won't be able to do it into the Variante outer. Hoyland's coming through. Now Veyer's coming through, and Veyer might even split the two GT4s into the corner. Indeed he will. This is giving Hibma a little bit of a breather from his GT4 rivals. I mean, he knows that Williams going to be right in his rear wing. The second that they clear him, once again, only two more to come through. Make that one, as we see Bennyworth make his way towards the inside of Ravazza 1. And then, of course, we will see Denzel Clarkson come through as the final GT3 to lap these two for the first time. But Humphrey doing a good job. Hibma will be safe this time round, but for how much longer can he hold on? He's doing a good job for the last, 7-8 minutes or so.
He has. He's done a fantastic job, and I think this last few minutes of kind of footage has told and kind of confirmed to us exactly how tricky this multiclass is, because you've got your own race going on. And not only have you got your own race, as a GT4 driver, you've got your own race, but you've got to have kind of eyes in front and eyes behind. Whereas at least in the GT3, you're kind of mainly looking forwards, I guess, unless you've got like 2 or 3 cars sat on your bumper, battling you. But yeah, absolutely frantic stuff. It looks like we've starting to get a few of the drivers coming in for their pit stops. At the moment, it feels a little bit early for the pit stop Stara to me. I don't know whether some of them might have fueled light, I'm not really sure. But one thing that I did try and catch earlier is that I noticed that Will Soper had closed that gap down massively to Gianni Terhar. So we've not really had much to say about Gianni Terhar just yet, as Will looks like he's getting the run on Gianni. Gianni's got I think it's Dean Sheesby that's in front of him, and Dean looks like he might be carrying a little bit of damage on that Porsche. But yeah, Will Soper has closed that gap right down. And I guess from Will's point of view, as we're just going to jump on board with Will now, this is going to be a fight for P2 in identical cars, probably not running identical setups. Gianni's going to hug the left. He says, no, you're not coming through here. Will says, okay, well, I'll just ease off and I'll try and plan it for the next one. So he's probably going to try and tee this up, get a better exit out of this corner, but it's not worked for him. So Gianni's got a fantastic run through that section, and Will's now got it all to do again. So yeah, fantastic battle between these guys, and running almost identical lap times as well. So really, really good. We've still got Joe Glass in P4, who's now being chased down by Anton Kalo, but he's 11 seconds behind. So unless any of those 4 guys in front have an incident, I would say, and I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would say that I think that may be as good as Anton can do today, given the pace that the 4 drivers in front have shown.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Absolutely. I mean, Joe Glass has been quietly very, very good here. He's been off the back of Terhar and Will Soper, but he is not far away. I mean, you can see them there in the foreground of the shot. He's only a couple of seconds away from second place in this race, and he hasn't had to do too much, but just keeping himself consistent on the lap times has meant that he has that gap back to Anton Kalo. They've been fighting behind him, but he's also close to P2. Once you've had 30 minutes in this kind of rhythm, that's so difficult for a driver behind to then get into the rhythm and then, go faster than the car in front. Joe Glass is at such an advantage at the moment in terms of just being able to get those lap times in very consistently. And he is going to be looking to pick up maybe a podium by the end of this race, but at least a P4, because he's in a really strong position to do that. But in both classes, these P2 battles really are quite exciting. Of course, Terhar and Hibma hanging on from Soper and Humphrey. And you can see them both running on for quite some time in this race, with just about half of the race left to run. Although, look at that, Anton Kalo setting his fastest lap of the race so far. Same can be said for Hoyland. Same can be said for Bennyworth. Yes, the fuel loads are getting lighter, but they're clearly getting a little bit more confident in the cars they run through. And Anton Kalo is now Well, that's going to be slightly wrong. But he is
We missed
closing
it, Dara. We missed it.
on Joe Glass. Ooh,
Will Soper.
we missed it. Yeah, that's
Will
why I got
Soper
confused.
had an incident. Let's have a look. So let's have a look what happened to Will Soper. So I thought I saw a car in the wall. So as Will just kind of got too much pace coming through, he's lost it on his own rear end Porsche doing a Porsche thing, and unfortunately that has cost Will. I think that's cost him P3. So yeah, he's 8.8 seconds behind Joe Glass. So maybe it's that electric-looking livery from Joe Glass that's caused him to go this fast at this track. So he'll be quite pleased that we got in some footage of his mirrored livery. So yeah, fantastic run for Joe. P3 and a podium. I know for a fact that he will be absolutely made up with that. So yeah, we'll be keeping all things crossed for him that he has a good run. What it has done is it's brought Anton Kalo back into play with Will Soper. He's only 2.2 seconds behind and potentially could be running a shorter fuel stop. So all of a sudden, whereas Anton, I said that he might not be able to do better than P5, it looks like totally wrong. One small incident for Will, and that was that. So we probably do need to jump on board a little bit with our race leader, Yannis Albert. So 9.9 seconds ahead of Gianni Tehar. So a fantastic job from Yannis, as we'll just stay on board with Yannis for a little bit in his NSX, in his Minecraft racing team livery. So yeah, fantastic job from him, as he's going to navigate his way through. That's going to be the 33 Aston Martin that he works his way through. So yeah, flawless performance so far from Yannis Albert. I'm not sure when he's going to pit, Dara. What are we thinking? Probably around the kind of 40 to 45 minute mark?
I would say so. I think it just depends, really. He's been able to dictate how much fuel he's saving, to be honest. And he should be fine whenever he decides to come into the pit lane. But yeah, I think that 40-minute mark, so with 20 minutes to go, for those of you looking at the timing tower on the top left, so in about 8 minutes time, I think we could start to see him think about coming in. May come in slightly after that as well. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say he's not coming in this lap. Oh, would have been embarrassing if he did, wouldn't it? But yeah, he stays out and continues onwards.
If he could have heard you, he would have done.
I mean, I'll be honest, James. If he came in then, I would have left. I wouldn't have been able to come back from that. That would have been. You would clearly have been the better of the two of us. My help wouldn't be required at all. But no, he will go on, and he's such a master of fuel saving and managing the tyres as well. We've seen it for so long in ESR, in GT3 machinery. A previous GT3 championship champion a few seasons ago was Yannis Albert, and he's just been so consistent. Sometimes there's been a couple of seasons where he has been a little bit more inconsistent, but the pace has always been there. And he's showing it as he's in this European GT Championship now. He's not necessarily, wasn't in the fray or in the thought process in the opening couple of rounds because he wasn't here, but ever since, he's really been all that we can talk about in terms of the championship.
And we've got these guys going at it again. I just noticed there that we've got Marius and William with Justin at the same time. I mean, they can't put a Rizzler paper between those two Porsches. So Marius is staying to the right-hand side, and then we've got William holding his line on the left-hand side. He's getting bump drafted by Justin. Justin's thinking, well, I'm going to go through here if there's any incident. There's not. Marius holds the later brake. Outside line for the first corner gives him the inside line for the second, but the outside for the third, as he just manages. Looks like he's carrying a slight little bit of damage as well on that back left, as William has to get into line. And at the same time as he does that, oh my goodness me, we've got the 115 Porsche, which I think is Louis Plath, that just manages to get in the way of that battle. But he's entitled to pass the cars there, and that's cost William massively, because he's now back behind Justin Eloff, and we know from the Thursday GT3 series that Justin is a tough competitor. So these two guys race against each other on Thursdays. So William does get the job done now. So yeah, there'll be a bit of frustration kicking in. Marius has probably got a massive smile on his face, thinking he's going to do everything he can to stop William making his way through. And yeah, William's now got it all to do again for the umpteenth time. Meanwhile, we've got Tristan Engelstadt, who's now got 14-second lead in his Quad Dash Racing GT4 Porsche. So fantastic run for Tristan. Really not put a foot wrong, and I hope I don't give him any curse there as we have a close look there at Tristan. Yeah, really, really, really great performance from him so far. 14-second lead, almost William Humphrey-esque. So it's a shame, in some ways, it's a shame that William didn't also get a great qualifying in as well, because it would have been good to see these go head to head. Although I don't know about you, Dara, I am enjoying seeing William working his way through the traffic.
So am I, absolutely so. It's really great to see that it's not necessarily the easiest day for him. He has to work hard for it, and coming into the pit lane now means that he's going to have more cars to overtake very shortly indeed. And I don't think I've seen William Humphrey make so many overtakes in one single race, if I'm honest. So it's a bit of a new one for me, despite him being here for God knows how long in those GT4 cars. But yeah, he's going to come out of the pit lane with a few drivers around him, the likes of Daniel Poole. He may have to start fighting with. He actually may be well enough ahead of Daniel Poole and far enough behind Pit Behavior to have a nice bit of clean air, which would be absolutely delightful for him. And indeed he will. So that's positive news for William Humphrey. How long will he be able to just get the lap times in now? Will he be able to try and do the undercut on Maris Hipmer? The undercuts don't often work very well in this series, but we'll have to wait and see if he's able to pull it off. Clyde Veyer is in as well, getting towards the start of the pit window, James. I think the next 5-10 minutes it's going to be quite frantic down on the lane.
It is. We've got Clyde Veyer and we've got Josh Cowan that's in the pits. And I was also looking at I just briefly looked at the chat, and Jason Baxter was saying just keep an eye out on Henry Garcia, because Henry Garcia has pitted early and working his way through. So Jason feels that Henry's going to come back into this as the other drivers start to take their pit stop. So this is the bit where it gets kind of confusing for us, Dara, because we have to try and work out who's pitted, who's not pitted. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out on where Henry progresses. We've got quite a few people joining us in the stream, so thank you very much for joining us. And if you are enjoying the racing, we would very much like you to hit that like button, which helps the algorithm and promote the ESR stream. So if you haven't done already, please hit that like button. We are trying to beat the record of likes that we got from a previous stream, which was 29. So if you are in there, you can hit that like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that would also be appreciated, to see these guys racing week in, week out. I just remembered that I had to get that in, Dara, before I forgot. So somebody we've not mentioned, and we only seem to mention him kind of when he's having some of these recovery drives, is Nils Cooler. So again, Nils didn't really have the qualifying that we kind of know that he's got the pace for in this GT4 championship, and he's now running down in P17 in his class, but Nils has pitted. So Nils is going to go to the end. Evan Main, who's in front of him, and he looks like he's going to have a good battle with now. Both of these drivers have pitted, so they are going to catch back up against some of the other drivers in front of them.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting theme for them in the final third of this race. Cooler is still trying to get through on Evan Main here. Main just trying to get back through on Nils Cooler as they run in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Lots of pit stops ongoing in that GT3 class now, isn't there? Bennyworth, Bailey, Leskin and Plath now in, this time by 21 minutes on the clock now. We really are running down towards that final third of the race. Albert still yet to pit, still gaining away from everybody else in the class. Joe Glass still going along nicely as well.
Joe is the highest driver.
Pit stop.
He has, yeah. He's the highest driver who's pitted. So I'm just looking at his pit time was 19 seconds, and Matt Hoyland's pit time, as in stationary time, was only 17 seconds. So it looks like we've got Yanis Albert. We've got our leader in, and we've got our second place of Gianni Tahar in. So Joe looks like he's got a bit of a potential undercut, but I don't think he will have, because I think these guys will be taking on a little bit less fuel as Yanis pulls away, he will keep that lead. I think he will keep that lead as Gianni Terhar doesn't take tyres, and it looks like Will Soper has taken, and you can hear Gianni revving. Hope he doesn't pop the engine. There he goes. So Gianni's still time was stationary time was 18.42 versus Joe Glass of 19.28. So Gianni should have gained. Gianni's going to come right back out into traffic, but looks like it's all GT4 traffic, so it'll only take him a moment or two to get things together. And yeah, he's managed to retain that lead over Joe. Joe's now 8 seconds behind Gianni, 4 seconds as the timing screen updates itself. So yeah, over that pit stop, just pitting early, Gianni's managed to just increase that to a couple of seconds, and Will Soper, who's also pitted, is 4.4 seconds behind. So, and Anton Kalo in 6th place. Anton has also pitted, so that didn't get him. So Anton couldn't run longer, and that didn't get him up to being ahead of Will. So if he wants to overtake him, he's going to have to do it on track. And then he's got another 2.5 second gap back to Matt Hoyland. We've got Adam Baker has not pitted. So Adam is trying to take this as long as he can for LS Racing 002. So I don't know kind of when is going to be the limit for this with only 18 minutes remaining. And then, of course, we've got Linus Petkavicius in the GT4s, who seems to take these... he seems to be able to run his car longer than anybody else that we've ever known, Dara.
Yeah, he's always the one, isn't he, that we look at towards the end of the pit stop cycle thinking, when is he ever going to pit? Is he ever going to pit? Can he even get to the end? Of course he can't. But doing it again and taking the lead for a little while. It's always nice to lead, even if it's not the net race lead for Linus Petkavicius. It's nice to be one that everybody is chasing for a couple of laps at least. And, he's only about 15 seconds, give or take, ahead of Tristan Engelstadt, but it has been a great race for Linus. We'll have to see where he comes out. The pit stop will be shorter than pretty much everybody else's, of course. That will be a strategic advantage, and we'll have to see what he's able to do with that as they run in towards Piratella. Oh, it's going to get close with the overall race leader of Yannis Hilbert getting involved in here. William Humphrey is trying to defend from Justin Eloff as they run in towards the Aqua Minerale combination of corners. It's just a little bit wide, but we'll hold on to P7. And William, I know there's a couple of cars left to come into the pit lane, but he's a couple of seconds off of Marius Hibmer. Not exactly where he'd want to be.
Yeah, Marius has got Yannis behind him, but I think the difference is that Yannis he's caught Marius at just a great part of the track that's not affecting his lap time at all. So he's just kind of led him through, carried on. He's not defended against Yannis this time, like he did against one of the other GT3 drivers. And yeah, so Marius is kind of going about his business as Pete Paiva pulls in to the pits. So yeah, he's got that 2.2 second lead, and still 15 seconds behind Tristan Engelstadt. So William, you would say that William has probably got the pace to get on the back of Marius. One thing that I did think, Dara, which may be interesting, is the incident limits might be the thing that really takes its toll for William, because as he's worked his way through the traffic, the GT4 traffic, we have seen him have a few little kind of incidents and a few knocks and scrapes, so to speak. So I just wonder if, combined with a few off tracks, if Williams got to be careful of that incident limit, because otherwise he's going to get a drive through, as it looks like he gets past the GT3 of Louis Plath. We said this before, didn't we, about this must be quite awkward when you've got fast GT4 drivers kind of able to go at a similar-ish pace to some of the slower GT3 drivers.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. And I think for some of those slower GT3 drivers, it is difficult when you're at the back of the field, and especially if you get push towards the rear of the field early on, especially after qualifying, to have confidence to really pick that pace back up. So, yeah, I think there's definitely something to say about that. That's not the right line through the chicane. From Justin Elof, he's deciding that he doesn't necessarily like the fact that there's a chicane there. Would rather we go back to the original layout of this circuit, but he will obviously pick up an off-track for that and may pick up a slowdown as well. So got to be careful to do that too many more times. Ben Bennyworth still trailing Clyde Vare as they run up the hill and making sure that he stays very close behind. Only 50 minutes to go now, a quarter of the race left to run. And as they run in towards the Variante Alta, well, that's messy from Clyde Vare. He won't really want to be stuck there. And he will get out of the side-by-side frame. And Ben Bennyworth may have a go here, but I think substantial enough to warrant any kind of defensive line for the Maltese driver. As Bennyworth continues to drive on. I think Bennyworth's been one of those drivers this season, James, that we've talked about a lot, being in that kind of 6th to 10th region. It's because I think he's struggled to really push on from there, but the consistency in results has been really, really impressive.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with Ben all season, really. I think he's been consistently in and around that sort of, as you say, 5 to 10, but some rounds has had the pace to maybe, be on just outside the podium finishers. So it looks like he's got a fantastic run here that's going to put him on the inside against Clyde Vare. Is he going to take the inside? He thought about it and then thought better of it. So, but yeah, looking at it, some of this is going to be where you catch these GT4s as he goes one side. This is the Axis Sim Sports. Is that Chris Jennings? I think that might be Chris Jennings that they've just gone past. And he's got the run. So Ben Bennyworth has got the run here on Clyde Vare. He's going to come up to the outside of the next left-hander. I mean, this is a really tricky corner to go too wide. And I think was it Pierre Gasly that found out earlier that going too wide through that corner didn't really work? So in his Alpine. But yeah, Ben Bennyworth does manage to get the job done and takes P8. So next target will be Denzel Clarkson, who is 5.3 seconds up the road. So with only 13 minutes remaining, I think P8 is probably the best that Ben's going to manage.
Yeah, I can't really see him getting much further than that. But still another decent result and really consistent for him to be still up in contention for top 10 results week after week. Will Soper back in contention for a top 5 result this time, maybe for a podium finish if he can get through on Joe Glass. That gap has come down in the last few laps. Joe Glass is holding on to that podium spot. For how much longer can he do so? Don't want Anton Kalo getting involved here either. He is just behind these guys, and the championship leader has been on a bit of a charge in the last few laps. Of course, remember, we were talking about him being 11 seconds behind Joe Glass, but that gap has been absolutely decimated. And now Joe Glass only holds about 2 seconds worth of an advantage over the Finnish championship leader. 12 minutes left to run here as well. If you're Joe Glass right now, James, what are you thinking? Because it seems that the two behind you have more pace, but you're just counting down the laps now.
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to say on air live. But yeah, I think there's one thing. Joe's definitely got the Jaws music coming on in his helmet. So yeah, and Will Soper, may have been happy to sit behind Joe for a little bit and kind of think about a last lap move, but he will be mindful in his mirrors that he's got Anton Kalo closing up behind him. So it's almost like pass or be passed. So yeah, I think Will's going to have a go here. He's got 11 minutes left. Maybe traffic could come into it, as you can see now, depending on where Will encounters the traffic. He's managed to get through there, so he's now half a second behind Joe. Looks like he's got a good run through the Rivazzas. So yeah, I think he's going to have a go, Dara, because if he doesn't, he's going to have that black and yellow machine of Anton Kalo that will probably want to have a go at him.
Yeah, and Anton Kalo definitely, after the struggles that he had in qualifying and the fact that it didn't really look like it was going to be on for a podium, now with the carrot dangling in front of his face of a possible podium, even if it is the bottom step, really will give him the drive to push on for a podium here. There is the MK Simsport GT4 that they're coming across as well, I do believe. Don't quote me on that though, actually, because there's a lot of liveries here that look quite similar. But there is Joe Glass getting through and trying to get away from the rest. 10.5 minutes to go. I mean, we're running at about 100 seconds a lap, so I think we're going to get about 6 more laps in on the conclusion of this one. It may be 7, depending on where Yannis Albert is, but with 600 seconds to go, with 10 minutes left, this is going to be a case of us getting 6 more laps once we cross the 10-minute threshold. If he gets to the line in the next few seconds, then it'll be 7. But that is where we lie. I mean, his gap to Gianni Tehar means that he could just gerrymander it anyway, slow down and just shorten off this race if he really wanted to. But he won't need to, and he probably won't anyway. Racers don't want to slow down, do they? They want to go faster and faster and build the biggest lead that you possibly can. 6 to go it will be then when they cross the line, which Yannis Albert has just done. The lap time just over 1 minute 40, I do believe. Yes, it is. So it means that we can have 6 to go, James.
Whew, rather you than me, Dora. Now, I think these lap times are kind of playing into your hands, aren't they, at being 1 minute 40? Just like nicely rounded up to 100 seconds. I was thinking, where's he going with this? This is like all over the place. I can imagine you with your abacus out, working it all out. But yeah, so it's just top left, 9 minutes. There you go. What I did see throughout that little, while you were talking us through that fantastic bit of time information, was I saw William Humphrey and Joe Glass on track together for the GlassTech team. And while all of that was going on, we'd got William Humphrey, as Joe Glass was going past Marius Hibmer, William Humphrey was kind of tucked up behind, and it's brought him right back into play. So 2 tenths behind. Marius will certainly know that he's had a race on his hands tonight. Tristan Engelstadt's extended his lead by up to 18 seconds. So yeah, he's definitely... that would have been very, very interesting to see him and William going at it had William have qualified properly. But I say properly, where he would qualify normally. They've managed to drop Justin Eloff by 3.3 seconds. So I think by now William will have accepted that he's definitely not going to catch Tristan Engelstadt unless he runs out of fuel, of course, which fingers crossed he doesn't, because he's not put a foot wrong all night. So he's now got 8 minutes to sit behind Marius and work out where the best position is. Something is telling me that he's nursing incident points, and it's a shame that we can't see those incident points on our timing software, but something is telling me that William is nursing incident points, which has kind of stopped him going at his full pace. So yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Another driver that I want to give a quick mention to, currently running in P6, is Martin Kenyon. So Martin did put in the chat, I think between quali and the start of the race, that he was extremely hot and sat sweating in his sim rig. So he's certainly going to be sweating now, that's for sure, because he's got Ryan Stringer right behind him. So yeah, Martin running in P6, so currently fighting the JSD team for the Pro-Am Teams Championship. And we've got Martin, who is 2 positions ahead of Stephen Donnelly. So again, he's just clearly heard what I've said and about Stephen generally being the quicker driver. So Martin's looking to get payback for that, and proving me completely wrong with this fantastic drive. So big shout out to Martin. Looks like he's not going to have it all his own way though, with Ryan Stringer right behind him. And then in the GT3s, we've got Matt Hoyland, who is running significantly ahead of Joe Sparrow. So yeah, in that Pro-Am Teams Championship, I think what we're going to see is the DXT guys jumping back to the top of the table, which bodes very, very well as we get into the next part of the second half of the season.
It really does, doesn't it? And that confidence that you can really gain from having a good result at a race like a track like Imola can really go a long way. I mean, particularly when you look at the calendar as we get towards the end of the season. I mean, we are going to go to some excellent tracks. Of course, Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time to kick off June. We have 3 races in June, mind you. And then, of course, moving over to Barcelona and then to end June at Portimao. I mean, we are getting really into our Western Europe, Iberian races by that point before we head back up north and end the season at Silverstone. But and of course Spa, don't forget Spa. But it's a really good place to get some momentum and get some points moving in your direction, because especially when you look at the fact we're going to Le Mans in 2 weeks' time, that's a track that everybody knows very well, particularly in GT racing. Everybody's going to be racing it a lot in a couple of weeks because we're going to be in Le Mans season. As Anton Kalo goes up the inside, there wasn't really a gap there. Around goes Joe Glass, and Joe Glass is facing the wrong way at Tosa. Matt Whelan comes through as well. That was a very forceful move from Anton Kalo. I'm not too sure how on it was. Joe Glass certainly didn't think it was on, and the contact means that he's back into the gravel again.
Let's have a look at it here, Dora. I think Anton's got the run, goes for the inside. Joe goes to close the door. No overlap from Anton. Second hit for good measure. Spins Joe round. Joe then pulls in front of Matt. And, oh, he will be absolutely fuming with that, will Joe? Yeah, that was really, really unfortunate for him there. I think I'm not going to sit with my steward's hat on here in the commentary booth for sure, but I couldn't see the overlap there, so that's one that will probably go to the stewards. But nevertheless, a great performance from Joe Glass up to that point, and he still is running in P6, so all is not lost for Joe.
No, and still good points coming his way, but it's just that, I mean, it's really just that disappointment, isn't it? That it's going to be what is going to be so upsetting, really, for him, particularly towards the end of this race, with such a great result firmly on the agenda for him. But Matt Whelan can't really believe it. It's like, can he up into the top 5 now without really having to do too much? And for Will Soper as well, it's gained him a little bit more time away from Anton Kalo and solidified the chances that he will pick up a podium here at Imola tonight. William Humphrey, though, through Maris Hibner, and with only a couple of laps to go for him, let's see if he can hold on to P2. He absolutely can't go for the lead at this point, can he?
He can't, no, he can't. And then we've got the GT3 Porsche trying to make his way through past Marius, which I think is only going to play into the hands of William even more, because I think that is the 58 of... We've got a flashing car there as well. I think that is Luke Bailey. Oh, and Luke's gone round. Luke's had an incident. So that must have been trying to make his way through traffic. I didn't quite see exactly what happened there, but yeah, that is very, very unfortunate. So that's set Marius back almost into the clutches of Justin Eloff. So 8/10 now the gap. Marius will be coming up to the last lap in a minute, I think, Dara. So Marius will be doing his best to just try and sit there and kind of secure that third place. William will now be up the road. I don't see Marius getting him back.
No, I don't really either. He looks like he's getting away, but I mean, he's gonna be disappointed that it's taken him so long to get that move completed, isn't he? Really, I mean, it really looked like it was going to be on for him about half an hour ago, but he's only just been able to really make it move, make it work for him and make it stick. And he can now try and get up the road a little bit, but I mean, he's not going to get much further unless Tristan has an absolute mare in the closing lap and a half, because that is where Yannis Hilbert is. Aqua Minerale, he will be on to the final lap. The white flag will fly when he next crosses the start-finish line. And it's been a cruise for him tonight, I think, James. I don't really think he's looked in his rearview mirror once, really.
Now, he's not put a foot wrong that we've seen. Absolutely flawless drive. 25 seconds ahead of Gianni Tehar. We must give a big shout out to Gianni Tehar. He's had some unfortunate luck as well in the last few races with things happening. So, all being well, Gianni Tehar will be running into this, bringing home this P2. Will Soper running in P3. Anton Kalo has moved up to P4 thanks to that incident, but I think that will probably go to the steward's room. It won't change the result, of course, which is something that some of my co-stewards are campaigning for next season, so that will be something that we look into. I know Anton won't have done that intentionally. It'll just be a kind of miscalculation, because Anton's definitely not that kind of driver. He's a gentleman, so I'm sure there'll be some apologies issued afterwards. They're a very respectful bunch of guys that race in ESR, but we're all human and incidents do happen. So yeah, Anton Kalo running P4, and then Matt Hoyland will be absolutely delighted coming off the back of his Porsche endurance race, jumping into that Corvette and and bagging himself a P5. Fantastic run. And we must give a shout out to Tristan Engelstadt, who will be coming on to his last lap, which means that we will be able to catch Yanis and then Tristan as they come over their final lap.
And it will not be long until Yanis does reach that checkered flag line. Who's he going to lap before the end? Is he going to lap anybody? Well, it feels like he might do, but he's going to just sit off. Look at that. Cruising in towards Variante Alta for the final time. They're all having a bit of a conglomeration ahead of him. It's a bit of a meeting he doesn't really want to be a part of up there. Meanwhile, Matt Hoyland's dropping down the order. We'll have to come back to see what happened to him. For the time being, we're going to follow Yanis Albert on the final couple of corners. It's a bit busy down here, but for overall, I should say, his race hasn't been very busy at all. Took the lead off at the start after a great qualifying, and once again pulls away from the rest. It's going to be 3 in a row for Yanis Albert. The German has arrived to the championship party, and he's here to take the crown. He's done everything he can in the last few weeks, and he wins in Imola, and he takes home yet another victory, and by yet another fantastic margin. Gianni Terhard, disappointment 2 weeks ago in his home race at Zandvoort, where he finished just off the podium. He felt like he had it in his hands, but couldn't quite get it over the line. Here, though, at Imola, he is going to come home for P2. He's going to weave across the line as well. He's going to be delighted, and that 37 is going to be standing on the podium. Full credit to him, and for Will Soper as well. Podium for the final GT3 podium sitter, the 112. Great result for him. Tristan Engelstadt will be the next winner to cross the line. He's only a couple of corners away from that checkered flag. Another stunning race, really. Just like we've seen in the GT3 class, dominance in the GT4s, but not by the drive we'd normally come to expect it from. William Humphrey started at the back. He hasn't been able to get anywhere near this man. Tristan Engelstadt has been absolutely imperious. The Swedish driver in the number 57, we've barely mentioned him all day, and that's because he's been so good. And the flash of the lights tells you that he is your winner here at Imola. What a result for Tristan Engelstadt. He will be followed home by William Humphrey and Justin Aloff. But for William Humphrey, James, I mean, there'll be slight disappointment to not get to the win, with the high standards that he sets himself. But even to get P2 from the back of the field is an incredible achievement. And for Justin Aloff as well, a podium on the final lap. He's going to be delighted as him comes into the pit lane at the end.
He does, yeah. I think that there may have been a slight coming together between the two drivers, and that will have put Marius in with a drive-through on the very last lap of the race. So we've got Nick Stubb, who's coming across the line to take P5 in class with Ryan Stringer just behind him, and we've got Martin Kenyon, who's come up in. He's had a fantastic result and finished P7, but I did notice on the timing tower that both Matt Hoyland and Martin Kenyon, teammates, both had a crash within like a few seconds of each other. So I'm not exactly sure what went on there. But yeah, wow, what a race that was. Absolutely. It seems like that 60 minutes has just gone in a flash, Dara.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like an hour, did it? But there we go. Must have felt like an hour for Yanis Albert and Tristan Engelstadt. They're just waiting for the checkered flag to fly because they were that far in front for so long. But in the end, a fantastic evening's worth of racing. I think with everybody now crossing the line, it'll be great to go through final race order and then get a sense from a couple of the drivers of how they feel after that race, because I think there's going to be a couple of really excited drivers. I'd love to get a word from Tristan Engelstadt.
I'm sure we might be able to. Right, if everybody's crossed the line, let's see if we can get some results up, Dara.
Right then. Here we go. Here are the results from the GT3 class. Yanis Albert, then your winner once again. The triple one. Well, there you go. Triple one, 3 wins in a row. That must be what it's for Yanis Albert. Gianni Terhard, P2 for the Quad Dash Racing outfit, but 25 seconds back, and it was half a minute back to Will Soper. Incredible display from Yanis Albert. Anton Kalo and then the surely disappointed Joe Glass in 4th and 5th. Joe Glass, of course, getting spun around at the end by Anton Kalo at toes up. He will have been looking for a little bit more than that. Denzel Clarkson, he was a bit of a cork in the bottle in the early stages of the race, but came into his own towards the end, and P6 is where he finishes up. He was ahead of Matt Hoyland and Ben Bennyworth, the only other drivers within a minute of the overall race winner. Henry Garcia and Jaden Scotton rounded out the top 10. He was just ahead of Joshua Cohen, who finished in P11. Joe Sparrow, Luke Bailey, Andre Muntian, along with Adam Baker and Andrew Fellows and Kyle. No, just Andrew Fellows. They were on the lead lap. Kyle was a lap down, in fact. He was joined on that metric by Dean Tyler, Lewis Plath, Andy Chell, Dean Sheesby, and Dean Treesby. I'm getting too confused. But Clyde Veyer, Robin Aston, and Aurima Zielinskias, they didn't get anywhere near the end. Veyer was only a few laps down, but for Aston and Zielinskias, they were tied very early on. Over in the GT4s, it was a relatively similar gap for the win. It was 20 seconds between Tristan Engelstadt and William Humphrey, but of course William Humphrey coming from the back of the field. Really impressive drive from him. Jelson Alof and Ryan Stringer were third and fourth, but again, big gap between third and fourth. Stringer, though, was very close ahead of Kenyon Donnelly and Dan Cross, who went very quietly and under the radar for a P7 finish. Marius Edma and Nick Stubb were within a minute 18, and they finished in the top 9. Poppy Moss finished inside the top 10. The Minecraft Racing team are first and 10th. That's still some good points for them. Chris Jennings and Niels Kula 11th and 12th ahead of Pedro Luis de Silva, who we saw backwards a couple of times in that race for the Flatline Racing team. Evan Main, the leading American in this class, was 14th ahead of Pete Weaver, Linus Petkovicius, Malcolm Coates, and Daniel Poole, who were all a lap down. For Rob Gregg, he was 2 laps down. He was joined by Ian Chambers. Sadly for Scott Kostrick, 24 laps down in the end, a long way off of the pace. But after an hour's worth of racing, James, some really intriguing results and some, I think, some championship pictures that are going to be, very interesting to talk about come Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time, because they look like they're tightening a bit, don't they?
They do. Yeah, we're gonna try and run something for a future round in terms of whether we can actually get the standings before or after, the driver interviews. So yeah, we'll try and do some driver interviews, Dara. It looks like my timing software is deciding to play up a little bit. So if you can decide who we're going to come in for the interview, then we can take it from there.
I think we should bring in Will Soper first, after getting his podium here at Imola. I'll just give you a sec to load the file, or load Will Soper on the screen. There he is, and we'll grab him in to the booth. Will Soper, welcome in, Will. First of all, can you hear us?
Good evening. I can hear you very well. How are you doing?
Perfect. Was doing very well, thank you. I mean, you must be doing pretty well after that podium result. I mean, talk us through how you're feeling, because great start, first of all, to get yourself onto that podium place, but were you hoping for maybe getting a little bit more? The win seemed a long way away from everybody else today.
There was precisely zero chance of a win, so there's absolutely no disappointment to not get that. But I am genuinely gutted that I missed out on the chance to have a closer battle with Gianni. I managed to bin it under braking. I don't quite know what happened, to be honest, but just into turn one, managed to bin it and lost a bunch of time. So I was really glad with the recovery drive to be back at P3. I was pretty happy with that. But yeah, gutted to miss out on a close race with Gianni, and well done to him. Totally deserved that P2.
Again, your consistency this season really has been impressive to see, in the early stages, at least. It's kept you right up towards the top of that championship picture. Where do you see yourself going from here in the next couple of weeks? Of course, Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time, the 90-minute race that it will hold. How are you finding those 90-minute races, of course, at Zandvoort? And what are you looking forward to in 2 weeks' time?
I need to learn Le Mans. So, frankly, you asked where am I looking at going from here? Probably downwards, but hey, this race I wasn't expecting to go as well as it did, and it was okay. I am, from the outset, it was my intention to be captain consistent, and it seems to be working for me. It certainly worked better than I've expected, but yeah, I like the 90-minute races. They give you a chance to settle into the race even more than even the 60-minute, and so yeah, a bit more strategy with 2 stops to do. I'm pretty looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, we are too. I'm gonna bring you in here, James, because I definitely couldn't have the results that Will has. Will now has a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th so far this season. That's better than me.
Yeah, fantastic results, Will. Congratulations there. I've only got one question for you. How does the captain consistency fit into that little episode that you had in the first chicane?
Honestly, I've no clue. Even when you're aiming for consistency, your brain can switch off. It happens to me occasionally. I need to go back and watch the replay. I'm not sure, honestly, what that was. I don't know if I touched the grass in braking or if I'd overheated the tyres slightly. But yeah, that was not a good moment.
You'll be delighted to know that up to that point in the race, we'd not had a replay all night because
Is that right?
We were too busy doing other things, and then all of a sudden, I thought I saw you kind of sort of go off into the wall, and then it popped up on the screen, and I thought, well, there's no better time to try the replay. And yeah, there it was. Just
You replayed the biggest mistake I've made all season.
yeah, sorry,
Cheers for
mate.
that, guys.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Just, I mean, look, welcome to ESR. You know how it is. So
I'm joking.
we take the good stuff and the entertaining stuff, of course. But it did look like you had an amazing battle with Joe Glass, and you know, I guess that for us it went like really quickly. We thought it was like, you know, 60 minutes felt like 5. Was it the same for you sat in the sim, or did it drag a little bit?
No, it didn't drag at all. Yeah, honestly, before I knew it, I mean, after I'd spun, I was just completely head down, just looking at apexes and breaking points and just trying to recover. And before I knew it, the spotter was shouting that I was about to run out of fuel, and I was like, nah, need more time. So, yeah, it was great fun that I managed to catch up and have a good battle with Joe. I don't know what happened there either. He seemed to just disappear.
Yeah, a bit of an incident with Anton. So
I'll go watch the replay.
Unfortunately, we caught that on stream as well. But
oh, it wasn't just me then.
No,
that's a relief.
No, you and Joe. But no, brilliant night's racing, mate. Honestly, made it really, really entertaining for us. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to live on the broadcast?
Fantastic, thanks. I do just want to say thank you, both James and Dara, for the amazing commentating you do. James and the whole admin team. You've had a bit of a rough season so far, and I really appreciate the effort that you put in to keep it fun. All of the Axis guys, they're cracking fun. Really, really enjoyed joining Axis Sim Sports, and they're good. And finally, to my kids who quite often watch, and my eldest son is sat right next to me now, so they enjoyed it as well. Thanks for that.
That's brilliant, mate. Really, really kind words, and it is really, really appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thanks. See you next week.
We will see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers.
Thanks, Will. Will's so for that. Great to get a word from him, and especially if he gets a compliment. It's great, isn't it? We'll get him in more often.
We'll take it.
Will Soper then.
A
great
later.
result for him, P3. The other P3 driver I see is waiting in an interview booth as well. That was Justin Aloff in the GT4s. I think it's the first time we're going to get a word from Justin on a Sunday this season. Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. I've just cut you off.
No,
you can definitely hear us. How was that race for you? I mean, a bit of an up and down one. GT4s have been a little bit more closed off this season, of course, with William Humphrey being able to lead from the front, but he wasn't able to do that today. Talk us through the back end of that race, first of all, because it really looked like it was getting quite close between you and William Humphrey. I mean, there were a couple of good battles. How close did you feel like you were going to get to P2 there?
I kind of thought that if I could capitalize on Marius and Humphrey fighting, I could maybe get ahead of them. And if Marius was behind me, I felt like I had the pace to drive away from him. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, some good points on the board for you. I mean, it's been an interesting season so far, and of course, you're a different livery and car, of course, that you're in on a Thursday night. How are you finding these Sunday night races? Of course, 60 minutes and then the 90-minute races. Are you looking forward to Le Mans in a couple of weeks with that 90-minute format?
I'm loving the races. I'm not looking forward to Le Mans. It's one of my weakest tracks. But no, it's been amazing in this race, particularly. I think the battle for was a P2 in GT4 was. I mean, I felt like I had the best seats in the house for a long time, but it was really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, James, I'll bring you in now as well, because really good to see that we have seen good battles for these podium places, isn't it?
Yes, fantastic, Justin. Really, really great racing for us. Certainly difficult to keep up with at times, as you might well imagine. But how do you find the differences in the pit strategy between like the GT4 and the GT3 car?
I think overall they're fairly similar. The major difference is I think you can lean on the GT4 tires a lot more. So in races where there's more wear on the GT3s, you might consider swapping, you know, two lefts or two rights or something like that. But in this case, like you don't really have to worry about the tires as much. And I think fuel saving can also be more impactful with the GT4s because it's often doesn't slow you down as much as the GT3s, like a save lap versus a full push lap. So there's a bit more leeway to play there, I think.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, you've certainly done that tonight and gave us some good entertainment. So thank you very much for that. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast before we let you go?
Well, to you guys for running this event, it's one of the best leagues I've been a part of. It's an amazingly well run, and looking forward to competing a lot more. And yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Justin, and have a great evening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you too, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Justin. Great to get a word from him after a great result in the end of the race. I don't think we've had a word this season from Matt Hoyland yet, James. And he was running very well towards the end of the race, but I think a mistake cost him a couple of positions. We'll give him a little ponder on it. Matt, welcome in. First of all, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm here, yeah.
Good news. Well, first of all, what happened towards the end of the race there? I mean, you were running very, very well. Dropped a couple of spots. We haven't seen it, so I mean, you can pick a spin on it for us.
It's basically just a lack of attention, I think. Once, obviously, by that point, it had sort of played out for me. Anton had gone up the road, and then I just coming into well, I suppose it's the second chicane because you got the triple and then the second ones, but hit the first sausage curb, which unsettled the car. And then I thought, oh, I'll make it 2, and I hit the other sausage curb, which unsettled it even more. And basically, I just nosed it into the wall. Bit of a spin. No major damage, but just lost her a couple of positions. But I'm not too bothered because they're not in my class anyway. But just silly.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, decent result for you. And I mean, you're picking up some decent points in the championship as well, of course, after that podium in the opening round of the season. I mean, where are you pitching your aspirations going towards the second half of the season? Are you looking for top 5 in the championship, top 3, maybe even better than that?
To be honest, as far as the individual championship goes, I don't think I've looked at it once. Myself and Martin are very much looking at the team side of things. Obviously we're at a strong point in that, and we're having a good fight with JSD, so that's really where the focus has been. As long as I'm putting in a decent pace and I'm beating those that we're in team competition with, then really I'm happy with that. I'd like to see us try and, obviously I'd like to win the teams thing, but as long as we can be somewhere up around the top, I'm happy with that. I'm not too worried about the individual level.
I mean, on that point, James, it's good to hear that, isn't it? Because that's kind of why we brought in the teams aspect for this CGTC.
It is, yeah. Very good evening to you, Matt. We've covered you quite a bit today. I've got a couple of questions for you. First of all, did I read correctly in the chat that you've just done an endurance race in a Porsche?
Yeah, so we did. Well, I'm sure most people listening will be aware of the Nürburgring Endurance Championship that runs every few weeks. I'm doing that with Aura, as some people will be aware of. Yain Stitchbury and Owen Seward with me today. So we did that earlier. But unfortunately, with the timing of it, with the Sunday slot, I got out of the car at about 7:10 after finishing the Nürburgring race in the Porsche Cup. Quickly ran downstairs and made myself some food. Got back to the rig at about 7:25, and then jumped straight in the Corvette. So it's been a pretty mad evening today.
That's quite interesting, Matt, because it's actually in the regulations that drivers must join by 19:30. So you've just voided your results. No, I'm joking, mate. I'm joking.
Oh dear.
Yeah, well, rather you than me. I think I said that on the stream to Dara at the time. Flipping heck, jumping out of one car into another, a different track. My goodness me. Last question from me is, you mentioned about you've not looked at the Drivers' Championship. I mean, how do you find this series compared to the normal GT3? The fact that ESR has run it as a kind of teams format, is that something that you kind of think positively on, or how is it kind of working out for you and Martin?
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's something different, and it's not something you're usually looking towards. Obviously, the teams side of things on the main GT3 league sort of comes more as a secondary target to a lot of people. Obviously, I'm having a nightmare on Thursdays anyway, so that's sort of completely out of my focus. But I like the team aspect of it, and having a driver in each class, it really emphasizes the need for consistency. And I've been trying to drum it into my own head, because I'm my own worst enemy when things start going wrong. It's so difficult to remember, just take the points, just get the points you need, anything you can get, because you don't know how it's going to work out in the end. You don't know what your teammates doing. if Martin has a really good race and I'm sort of struggling, it's still in my interest to try and gather, even if it's just a few points. It's better than nothing, because obviously he's got a good result, so I want to try and help him out as much as possible. So I really enjoy the team side of it, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a really good thing, and it's been nice to approach him a bit differently.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. I did see on the timing software tonight that, I mean, we didn't get to cover it, unfortunately, but I did see that you and Martin both had an incident in almost a few seconds of each other. So we didn't know whether you were on track together and involved in something or not. But it didn't seem too serious, because both of you still finished in a reasonable spot. So
no, I don't think so. I think the only real incident I had contact with, I think it was Jaden Scotland on lap 1, which I've yet to go back and see. I apologise now on stream if it was my fault. I haven't gone back and looked at it yet. But aside from that, no, I don't recall having any incidents as such.
Okay,
I saw
good.
quite a lot
Good.
around me, but no, it was just pretty plain sailing. Apart from that, just really, really busy with traffic in places.
yeah, we could see that. Rather you than me, that's sure. So just before we wrap it up, Matt, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to live on the broadcast before we let you go?
I'll give a shout out to Martin as usual. He did a really good job today. Good points. Shout out to Danny. He's usually doing a bit of race engineering for us with your great timing software, but unfortunately he's feeling under the weather this evening, so he's not been able to help us out. But yeah, glad to bring good points for the team. Obviously, shout out to Rest of Dexterous as well.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, have a good evening, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Le Mans.
I look forward to it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Great to get a word from Matt Hoyland after another decent result from him. And I think, James, we should bring in one more driver. And I'm looking at a man who's always in the interview booth, and I feel guilt-tripped into bringing in. I think we should get away with Andrew Fellows. What do you think?
Do it.
Let's bring in Andrew Fellows. He got a bit of... Oh, sorry, Andrew, I'll cut you off mid-sentence. A bit of extra practice, of course. We saw from the drive it like you've... What is it? Borrowed it, James? Drive it like
Hired.
borrowed it?
Yeah, we hire things at ESR. We don't steal
had a mind
things.
blank
We're nice
Drive it like
people.
you hide it. Andrew Fellows there on the inside in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Andrew, welcome in. I feel... I should apologise for taking the mic. I feel bad. But talk us through your race tonight.
Tonight's been good, actually. I hadn't done much practice. I literally jumped on probably an hour before. I've driven the track in the TCR in that last season, so I knew the track, so it's just adapting to the GT3, really. I gradually got quicker. And yeah, I started, where did I start? Like P20 or P21, I think. And I finished P16. But a lot of that really was down to strategy. So I could see there was a really big group of GT4s coming up, and everyone in front of me in GT3s would just come up to them. And it was just on time where I could pit. So I pitted, and I was 2 seconds behind Louis. And when I come out after he pitted, he was 6 seconds behind me. So it just shows what sometimes just thinking with the strategy can do, and just trying not to get caught up in the traffic.
I mean, James, it's always good to get a bit of an eye, isn't it, from the mid pack of a race, because it can be so different when you're racing with almost everybody in the field.
Well, I don't know what it's like in the mid pack, Dora, from a racing perspective, because I'm normally at the back. But yeah, very good evening, Andrew, and welcome in. Obviously, Andrew has absolutely no idea what Dora's referring to in terms of the Rob Mackay track guide, so you'll have to watch that back, Andrew. And
I shall have a watch of that. Yes.
Yeah, you somehow managed to just pop up and appear in our little funny videos that we like to produce on behalf of Mr. Mackay. But how do you like the Imola track in terms of in the Porsche and navigating GT4s? What's the trick to it?
I actually quite enjoyed the track, to be fair. In the Porsche, I mean, sometimes those little sausage curves on the inside can be a bit of a pain. I say sausage curves; they're like the road humps, the little pretty annoying things, like yellow and black ones. Yeah, the speed humps. They're quite annoying because they can launch the car. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it was tricky sometimes to overtake. But there's quite a few straights after a corner that you can get a good exit and then you can get ahead before the next corner. But the hardest one I think was generally the hairpin, as there were several times I was trying to outdo them at the hairpin and they'd be like accelerating alongside me. So that was tricky. But I think the off tracks got a few people. I was lucky, but I know Marius got a black flag on the last lap, which dropped him down. But yeah, it was quite a good track actually. I quite enjoyed it. Not too bad.
Brilliant, mate. So I guess the last question from me, penultimate question from me, is when are we going to see you in the GT3 Championship on a Thursday night to restore our rivalry?
I have been thinking about it. I do play football on a Thursday night, which makes it awkward. But the motivation for football is getting lower, so it's like, do I gap that in and come and have a go? Because the format for the GT3s looks really, really good. And I think I would obviously be in the B split, so it would make it a lot easier on myself. Rather than trying to fight for like 16th, I'll probably be fighting like top 10, hopefully. But yeah, one day maybe.
We'd love to see you there, mate. And by the way, don't tell anybody, but B stands for best. So
it does.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does. Rob Mackay decided. So, well, yeah, we'd love to see you there, mate. And thank you for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Obviously, you guys for running the championship and doing so well with the commentary, and yeah, all the drivers at Flatline been doing quite well, and yeah, just everyone's really friendly. So just keep it up. It's doing well.
That's brilliant, mate. Thank you very much. And that is really, really appreciated. As you know, we had a tricky start to the season, but I think it's coming very good now. We've had, fingers crossed, less technical glitches and less racing issues and all the other stuff that goes with it. So yeah, thanks for popping in, Andrew, and have a great week.
No worries.
And we will see you in a couple of weeks at Le Mans.
Yep, I look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Andrew.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Andrew.
Dara, before we finish, I think that we should get Martin Kenyon in. I think Martin's been waiting patiently, and we can squeeze in one more, can't we?
Yes, he's just popped in. He wasn't there a minute ago.
Well, let's grab him.
I'll pass the script over to you guys. We'll bring Martin Kenyon in.
Martin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I didn't really want to interview. I was just sat in that lobby to chat with them guys.
I know. And we saw you pop in thinking that we'd finished. So we thought, we'll grab him. We'll find out what's going off. How are you? How was that for you?
Oh, it was intense. I think on last, like, I don't know how many laps it was at the end, 10 laps or something. I was in a battle with, who was it? Ryan Stringer and... can't remember what the other one was.
I think you were in quite a few battles tonight. We missed you on stream a little bit in the first few rounds, and trying to keep up with the action's quite difficult, but we did manage to catch quite a bit of you tonight. Fantastic qualifying as well. Talk us through that.
Just put less fuel in, went fast. Don't know. What happened to Will? He didn't set a time, did he?
I don't think so. No, we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't catch that till late on in the quali. So, yeah, he had to start from the back. But we saw you kind of going door to door with him and giving him a bit of elbow, so to speak. And then right at the end of the race, on the timing software, maybe you can answer this for us, it showed that you and Matt had an incident at the same sort of time, and we didn't catch that. Did you have any incident towards the end of the race, or no?
Second to last lap, I tapped Nick Stube in the last corner, and I had a spin.
Did you lose positions from that then?
Yeah, I lost out to Ryan Stringer.
Oh, that's a shame, mate, because you were having a cracking run. Have you got anything to ask Martin, Dara, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, other than how are you looking forward to Le Mans next time out, Martin?
I don't know. I don't know the track, so should be interesting.
You don't know Le Mans?
Bit of intrigue.
No, I don't know Le Mans.
Well,
I think I've driven it like once as like a team event, and I think we did like 5 laps, and that was it.
Well, you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Next 2 weeks going to be interesting to see how Martin gets on. So thank you for jumping in, Martin. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Just my teammate Matt. He's been carrying the team, scoring plenty of points, so makes my life a lot easier.
Well, you proved me wrong tonight as well, by the way, because I did have a little... in the start of the stream, I said that Stephen Donnelly was generally the quicker driver in the GT4s, and then you proved me totally wrong. So hats off, tip of the hat to you, sir. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a good evening, Martin. See you later.
Cheers, same to you. Bye.
Martin Kenyon then, final person jumping into the booth. And I think it's a great place to wrap off through a great evening's racing, James.
It was really, really good. Very much enjoyed doing that tonight, Dara. Cross fingers we didn't have many technical hitches. Thank you to everybody that stayed in the chat for the interviews, in the stream for the interviews, and everybody that's in the chat. Much, much appreciated. If you've enjoyed the racing tonight, if you could give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, that would be massively appreciated. We've just got a few formalities to do before we wrap up. So anybody that's watching the live broadcast that is interested in getting racing with Evolution Sim Racing, we have obviously this European GT Championship, which runs every 2 Sundays. And we've got another extension of this championship in a slightly different format that we will be releasing details on the 1st of June. We've got the Danny Lee Porsche Cup, sponsored by GT Omega, that runs alternate Sundays to the European GT Championship. Danny runs a fantastic Porsche Cup event that's broadcast on Apex Racing TV. So anybody interested in getting involved with that, hop into the Discord and have a little look around. We also have a practice league, which is totally free to join, that runs every Tuesday evening and Saturday at 4 p.m. And that is either GT3 or GT3 GT4 on a Saturday. And then finally, we've also got our new GT3 Championship, which is Season 9, which we've just opened up the sign-ups for. So we've got 3 rounds left of our current GT3 Championship. Our Season 9 Championship will be, again, with 2 different pace-based splits, an A split and a B split. B standing for best, of course, for the let's say the slightly slower drivers, and A for the elite and pro drivers. So yeah, if you're interested in getting involved with that, we opened the sign-ups for that a couple of days ago, and I think we've got about 75 plus drivers already registered. So if you've not yet registered and you are interested in joining that GT3 Championship, then I think it's going to be bigger and better than any that we've had before. We've got a mixture of commentators on the A split between Joe Glass, Chaz Draycott and Dara Thacker. So we're going to be mixing that up with those guys. And we've got the amazing Paul Walsh, who will be covering the B split solo, which I think everybody who knows Paul knows what a fantastic commentator and broadcaster Paul is as well. So yeah, we've got a jam-packed season there. Anybody interested, jump into the Discord and come and ask us what it's all about. Next round for the European GT Championship is in Le Mans in 2 weeks' time on the 1st of June. I'm really looking forward to that one, Dara, from a GT3 perspective, and I really don't know what's going to happen with the GT4s and how they're going to kind of navigate that on those long straights. I think setup's going to be really, really important.
Oh, absolutely. And with such long straights, there's not too much room at Le Mans to really make many moves. So a lot of dead time over the course of the 90 minutes, but it's going to be a great race as well. It's one of the classic circuits as well for GT racing, isn't it?
It is. And we it's the 90-minute round, so we get to kind of put our feet up, don't we, for a bit. So we can just, it's one of those more chilled out, relaxed, put a bit of soft music on in the background and just kind of, yeah, commentate on what we see in front of us. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So that's us done for the evening. Thank you to everybody that's joined. Really appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed the stream and the racing, and of course the Rob Mackay Italiano Hot Lap, which is always entertaining for us. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for Le Mans. In the meantime, keep safe, everybody, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
For the upcoming right-hander, brake 30 meters later and ease off the pressure.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.